Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribe Star. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. Okay, it looks like Jeffy's wife is not available at the moment. But his wife answered for him, so he's not around tonight. He's probably working at the moment. So everybody, hey, welcome everybody. This is the Red Pill Nation Hangout number 378. We have got two. We have still got two. We have two shows this week. One today and another one on Monday, because a lot of stuff happened this particular week, and yeah, I didn't want to. I mean, it was like I got to 7 and I was still not out of topics, and I was like, oh, well, looks like we're going to be doing a twofer this week. So yeah, we're doing a twofer. Yes, we are still going to at some point in the next few weeks. We are going to cover the Quiet on Set documentary. I think it's important. I believe it is personally quite important that we do cover the Quiet on Set documentary just because of what's going on. I also have some rather happening news. The second video platform, that would be BitChute, also just reached 100 subs about 2 days ago. So that is MGTOW TV and BitChute that have surpassed 100. I gained 40, I think it was 41 subs over the past 30 in the month of May. That's 1.3 per day. So if you add that up over the rest of the year, that's somewhere between 2 and 250 subs split up between 6 platforms. So yeah, things are looking relatively well there. Gonna be a bit of a switch out. We will be doing 379 next week. 380 though, I am going to be on vacation. I will decide on the day whether I will do 380 or whether I will actually take that week off, or basically when I get back do 2 shows back to back. Again, I will decide, but yeah, 2 weeks from now we probably won't be doing a show on definitely won't be doing the show on the weekend because I will be on vacation somewhere. And I'm just going to chill out for a little bit. So with us tonight, we got the usual Three Stooges. I'm hoping that that Angel manages to step onto the show here at some point, just so that I could constantly rib him about the fact that the Oilers, the city I'm currently living in, and you might be able to faintly hear all the horns and everything honking as we're going down the street here. Yeah, I'm going to be walking out there as soon as the show's over to take some of that in. But V, introduce yourself.
Yeah, that's right, world. Take the life from my voice, suck it into yourselves. Anyways, yes, V, host of the Redfield Hardcore Radio Show, part of Liberty Beacon Media Project, promoter of TLBTalk.com. Yes, we'll be up on, yeah, new location. We're just getting resituated, got some upgrades, all that kind of stuff. We'll be launching again very soon. Within a month or so, probably. So just keep on a lookout for that. Anyways, that's me.
All right. And also, of course, we have Urson, who is in Calgary. The aliens didn't try to abduct him this week because they're all busy watching the Oilers make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, just like I am. And he's down in Calgary, so Calgary doesn't count at this point. So, but Rearson, introduce yourself.
Well, I will say that Calgary is the internal migration capital currently, just because, for now, things are cheaper in Calgary. And Edmonton is a distant enough second. So, yeah, I'm still in this godforsaken city for now. And that should change in about a month and a half from now. So, we'll see. Back to you, my friend.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, I might not be around might not be around where I'm living for much longer too. But we'll see. For those of you who don't know, I am only at Patreon as Naroki5. I am at Facebook, Minds, Gab, MeWe, Getter. We won't mention TLB Talks as TLB Talks is taking a hiatus right now. Hold on a second. TLB Talks is taking a hiatus, but that is currently where I am located. I am also at, and this is in no particular order, YouTube, MGTOW TV, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, and Brighteon. That's the order that I'm in. I very recently, as Naroki5, like 2 to 48 hours ago, surpassed 100 subs on BitChute. So I am now, that's now MGTOW TV and BitChute where I'm at over 100 subs. Again, strange things happen when you just simply post up at, oh, by the way, yes, I'm also at YouTube, by the way. There is a link for YouTube at the Alt Tech platforms for you to look up if you want to find me. But yeah, strange things happen when you actually just keep posting up content on the Alt Tech channels. You start getting subs. Yeah, like your content doesn't get buried like it gets on YouTube. I gained 41 subs last month, which is more than one per day, which is I thought was pretty amazing. But yeah, we'll just keep the good news going. So the topics for tonight, and yes, like I said, we are going to be doing 378 and 379 kind of back to back. I suspect we're going to be doing a lot of these as we get closer to the election. Not so sure. Maybe, possibly if Angel jumps on Donald Trump topic at number 4, might actually go on for a while, but he's currently not here. But as it goes out, here's where it currently stands. Topic number 1, another girl boss movie, Furiosa, tanks at the box office. Fall Guy is also performing poorly. We'll get into it. There's even more to it than that, but that's the stuff that's going on right now. Topic number 2, investigation shows CIA tried to buy a huge chunk of social media to protect Biden in 2020. Topic number 3, WHO pandemic treaty, WHO, World Health Organization pandemic treaty fails to pass. They didn't get enough countries to ratify it. Topic number 4, Donald Trump found guilty at trial, conviction as expected, backfires. Yeah, I'll wait till I get to that topic to talk about it more. Might want to actually throw 2 and 5 together. I might just put those two together. A leak came out this week at Google revealing that the search, this just should come as no surprise to either of us, search engine optimization feature is biased, and this is on top of the fact that the Google AI was giving really.
My God. saying it ain't so.
Yes, I know. I'm shocked.
Shocker. Not really.
I was giving. Yeah, no, I know. I'm so glad I was sitting down when I said that. Because you could never. Oh, hey, Roger, how you doing? For that, and of course, the last one. And this one involves a YouTuber, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, arrested on drug charges. Yeah, that one I don't know the full details, but I mean, I got more than a passing familiarity with addiction to pretty much know how this spiraled, and specifically about have done some reviews and some other stuff. So yeah, there are two. So here's the question: do we want to put 2 and 5 back to back, and then I will just reword everything, or do we want to do them do we want to do the topics as is?
I'm personally fine either way. Well, and chances are V probably doesn't care one way or the other.
Okay, then we're going to stick with it as it is. Roger is currently, if you can bring in Angel, Roger, that would be great. Hold on a second here. Let me just see if he's mostly tonight I'm going to be screaming "Let's go Oilers" every time he opens his mouth. So, to each his own. So that is it for group information. Roger, are you able to introduce yourself at this particular moment? Okay, no, you're not. So, all right, let's get into the topics now. I will be seeing the Fall Guy later on this week, probably tomorrow night, to firm it up. I did actually go. I somehow got into town early enough on Wednesday to actually go and see the Mad Max movie that doesn't actually have Mad Max in it. It was Furiosa. And I already knew that that the movie had done really badly at the box office in the opening weekend. If you wanted to go with the estimated, that the 35 was the domestic, which means they probably did, I'm guessing, 80 million in their opening weekend, although I will take a look once we get the show started tonight. One of the things that I have noticed, though, is that it's reached the. So yeah, I went to go see Furiosa in the theater, and I was expecting another one of those woke girl boss Mary Sue movies, and with a bunch of social justice preaching and the message and all of that woke crap. And what I actually got was a decent movie. Like, on a scale from 1 to 10, it's probably about a 7 or an 8. Like, it's not a bad movie at all, which kind of is a bit of a mystery as to why then it was tanking. And then I looked at some of the people who were doing reviews of it, and this one, I think, to a certain degree, you can blame the marketing on it. They tried to pass this. They played up the girl power stuff once again, and yeah, there was a little bit of kind of like that girl power stuff right at the start of the movie, but the way it was written in, it was believable as to why it was that the 2 women from the tribe, when Furiosa was abducted, would be the ones that go after, because apparently it was Furiosa's mother and her aunt that went after her. So the whole movie, it had a character arc. Like, it was a character arc. Furiosa just didn't autumn. It's not like Star Wars. It's not like any of the other Mary Sue, like Captain Marvel or whatever. It wasn't any of they didn't have any of the Mary Sue in it. Like, Furiosa's character arc was definitely it's very similar to the one in Hunger Games, right? Like, she had to face some difficulty, she had to face some adversity, and that adversity made her smarter and stronger. The males weren't all just a bunch of sexist assholes. There was actually some very decent male characters, and also some very bad male characters. Chris Hemsworth absolutely knocked it out of the park. So why did this movie tank so bad? And that's what almost everybody who saw the movie was asking. And this is the same thing. Apparently, I haven't seen Fall Guy yet. I will see Fall Guy probably tomorrow. Apparently, Fall Guy, also a surprisingly entertaining movie, and an actual decent movie that also didn't do particularly well at the box office. Now, you can't just pin it on one thing. The marketing for Furiosa, the movie itself wasn't particularly woke. The marketing, though, was. And if you start, this is something that I could almost, because when we did the stuff for Barbie last year, I said what was a very strong probability of what was going to happen is because of the success of Barbie, is that they were going to use what happened with Barbie. And keep in mind, I think all of us here are in agreement, Barbie was lightning in a bottle. Barbie was a based, let's call it masterpiece, but a surprisingly based and funny movie. And the ironic part is I don't think Greta Gerwig, who was the writer and director for that show, she tried so hard to mock the Manosphere that she actually ended up paying tribute to it. And she also tried to mock Fight Club and The Matrix and Saving Private Ryan and all those male-centric movies that came out in like 1999. And again, she ended up paying tribute to them by mistake. This movie is a standalone. I think one of the other things that caused this movie to not do particularly well is that they use the Mad Max brand, but they don't have Mad Max in it. And it's a prequel for what's going on with Mad Max Fury Road. So if you really wanted to get technical, Mad Max Furiosa is actually the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. And again, right, just not, it can say there's not one thing that did it, but this is an example of the fact that you could make a decent movie. And I have to say it, ultimately, most of the fault of this particular movie tanking has to fall to the publicity department and the studio and how they chose to handle this movie, as opposed to just like playing it up as an adventure show that just happened to have a womanly kind of like Alien. Instead, they had to play up the girl power part, and that turns a lot of people off now, right? And people were like going, oh, yawn, another girl power movie, another Mary Sue, another this, and that's not what this movie was about. Yeah, Mad Max is definitely, Furiosa is worth going into the theaters to see. It's unfortunate that a lot of people won't go see it. I will say one last thing before I turn it over to V here. because Roger hasn't heard a thing that I just finished talking about. So yeah, so V, if you want to go third on the next topic, that's fine, but you have to go number 2 at this one for this one. Yeah, you're gonna. It's not looking like there's doing some review of some of the summer stuff that is coming out. It's looking like 2024 is going to be a repeat of 2023. Oddly enough, and this is what I did say about 2023, is that oddly enough, the movies that are coming out are actually a notch so far, at least what I've seen so far this year, have been actually a notch better than the stuff that came out in 2023, which is really weird. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah, well, actually, that's something new that I didn't get to tell you about. A couple months ago, I did watch Barbie, finally, and I thought it was quite a bit charming, all the way up until the point of where I'm guessing it's towards the end of the movie, where the designer woman, she starts on this long rant, and like 30 seconds into it, I just completely clocked out, and it's like, oh, hey, it's my bedtime. Never came back to it. So, I don't know what that rant was about, but hey, anyways, yeah.
Abortion, and they keep making me scrape them.
All right, V, continue. Oh, but here we go, Angel. Let's go, Oilers. Continue, V.
Are we into the show already? I thought it was at 1:30.
Yeah, we are into the show already. But you live in Florida. I live in
What I
Edmonton.
miss?
So far, we're just we're on topic number 1. We're talking about Mad Max Furiosa at this point. Anyway, V, continue. Topics are in the chat.
Will stepped in here because I know he's going to have something to say about this woman that I'm going to bring up. But yeah, so I didn't know this was actually a thing. When Alex mentioned it last week about there being a Mad Max movie without a Mad Max, I was like, yeah, right, that'll never happen. I'm thinking that in my head. What a second movie that would be. No, that's real, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's not like it has some sort of contractual obligations, like when they brought in Bridget Nielsen to play Red Sonja.
Oh yeah.
The only reason why the movie ever happened is because Arnold Schwarzenegger was on a contract to do 3 Conan the Barbarian movies. However, I think there was a licensing issue, or they ran out of time, or something like that. They just had to make the 3rd movie of the trilogy, Red Sonja. So
that's part of it, but also remember he was also doing other films at the same time, and like they overlapped, and that was part of it. There was like a cluster mess of a bunch of things.
Right. So I mean, if you bring in a woman or any other character, really, for that matter, yeah, you got to at least have a cameo, something with the original, and then let them pass the torch, so to speak. And then that's when you continue on the Mad Max legacy. But to just go ahead and switch off to another character that we have no history with, no emotional attachment with, just a brand new character in an already existing universe that we're familiar with. So that's that.
But it's related to the last Mad Max movie, right? Sorry to cut you off, but it's related to the last one, isn't it?
Yeah, Mad Max Furiosa. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a spin-off. Is what it is.
Yeah. Well, it's a prequel to the whole Mad Max Fury. By the way, V, are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right, Angel. We'll go Angel, Roger, and then Steve. And then what we'll do is we will then go me, Angel, Roger, V, and then Steve for the remaining topics. So Angel, take it away.
Cool. I'm an old school Mad Max fan, like with Mel Gibson and stuff. So I wasn't really too like interested when they did the whole rebooting or whatever this was. But it was an okay movie,
Oh, yeah, I thought it was very good. I gave it an 8
it was
myself.
better than I expected. I'll say that much. But I'm still like nostalgic, with the old Mel Gibson. I thought they should have done a continuation of that and like Mad Max Jr. or something like that, and have his son take over and have Mel Gibson kind of pass the baton. But they kind of did what they do with James Bond in that genre, where like they just replace the actor and it's like a continued story kind of, but not really, like the James Bond of old. Now with this new spin-off, it's still in the universe that they're rebooted. It's just a spin-off, and this is happening more and more because men in Hollywood and in really in the entire country here in the U.S., but in Hollywood for the last couple of years, we've seen that how the male hero has been replaced by the butchy, woman who's more powerful than the guy. When in reality, she probably couldn't take out the trash if they worked together in an office. And he would have to do all the work. But, the movies like to portray now women as like, yeah, they're the most powerful beings in the universe. They can even whoop big dudes' butts. But in reality, they probably even, they'll break a nail. So, but that's the dumbing down of the male in this society. And it's, there's misogyny when you're supposed to we hate women. Well, we call this like male misogyny or brosogyny or whatever misogyny. I think there's actually a word for it, very similar to misogyny. So I'm not
Misandry. Misandry.
misandry. Yes, I knew I wasn't far off. You're right, misandry. So I mean, this has been going on more and more and more. Look what happened to Star Wars. That we've always had strong women, but now they made Rey the biggest and the bestest that's ever
Yeah,
existed.
they made her a Mary Sue, and that's that.
Yeah,
Oddly enough, Furiosa was not a Mary Sue. Continue.
yeah, no, I mean totally, and this is the realm they're going down. Kathleen Kennedy said the force is female, and they're all catering to women being heroes, and they're pushing it and pushing it, and it's transgender men that want to be women, and they're pushing that. A lot of people stayed away from the Quantum Leap show, the reboot, and it was a good show, but they stayed away because one of the main characters is a transgender, and that got a lot of negative publicity from the people who are really like starting to turn on that. These are the same people who, of course, boycotted Bud Light for the whole Mulvaney debacle, which was ridiculous of Bud Light to begin with, and the stupid ad campaign. And the Hollywood needs to stop pushing these agendas and just let good characters flow and good storylines happen. And now every show has a transgender person or has this or that with gay people, and it's like they keep pushing this narrative and trying to get to accept a small minority in our country where the majority is still heterosexual, and we're supposed to like say, okay, well, I guess a man with a penis is a woman. We didn't know that. And it's dangerous when you watch stuff like in Congress and you see these people testify and they're going up there for like major judges and they're being appointed to like major position with the health department and stuff like that. They can't even tell you with a straight face that a man has a penis, a woman has a vagina, there's two genders in the story. When they're asked if a man can have a baby, these idiots are like, well, yeah. No, you moron. A man cannot have a baby. A guy can chop his dick off, be Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner, whatever. He will never get pregnant. It's in the DNA, stupid. For people who say follow the science, they don't follow a lot of science because they can't figure out a man is a man, a woman is a woman. Hey, more power to you if you want to chop your dick off and flip it inside out like a hot dog and, go at it. Do what you got to do, baby. It's all good. I'm not going to touch you because I'm not gay. And I know I'll be banging what, a hole? At this point, it's not even a real vagina. It's like it's disgusting. I'm still banging a guy's penis, but it's inverted. This is genital mutilation. It's gross to even think about it. But they're pushing these agendas, and they want to normalize this thing. Like they've been trying to normalize pedophilia in Hollywood and in California. Finally, so this woman, Susan Eggman, or whatever her name is, stood up and said, "Enough is enough. I'm tired of this. You guys are normalizing pedophilia. You guys are normalizing these." And she's a lesbian, by the way. And she even spoke out about this, that she's done. She's done protecting these crazy people. And that's what this is, a bunch of crazy people who chop their penises off. They think they're women. And some think they're men, like Chaz Bono, and she wants to be a man. And now we're literally living in a society where the inmates are running the asylum. And no shots at you, V, because I know you did your time in Central Drive. But
you're killing me with the phrase of chopping of the penis off. Okay. Oh God.
Well,
Just
go ahead, V.
You say it, and it's painful. But go ahead, continue.
Here's the ironic part. Oh, by the way, there's some more car honking.
oh, that's always fun.
Let's go, Oilers.
No, Rookie, I know you have about the Oilers, but look, let's not put Vaseline and oil in booty holes. Let's just not. There's no need to even talk about this. But they're doing drag queen reading with kids. This is where I start drawing the line. I don't care if you use lube for your butthole and you take butthole pleasures for like for your entire life. That's your business. If you're an adult, do what you got to do, but leave the kids alone. When you go into like elementary schools and you want to read to kids about being a drag queen with your balls exposed and this dress and you got no underwear, that's where I got a problem. And a lot of these dudes are crazy mental people who need to be beaten the hell down for doing this crap. These are pedophiles, and the left has been endorsing. And again, Susan Eggman, the very liberal lesbian member of Congress, or senator, I believe, finally spoke up in California and called it out for what it is. Now, if that's not a red herring for everybody out west and everybody in this country, that these people are corrupt and they're covering pedophilia and human trafficking and child trafficking, if this does not open the Pandora's box to what they're doing, then nothing will. Because you have one of their own saying, I've had enough. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not covering up for you guys. I'm not going to be a part of this. What you're doing, you're not only accepting and acknowledging pedophilia to be okay, but you're literally passing laws to make it easier for pedophiles to do what they do. And this needs to end. And I applaud her for coming forward and being a Democrat who did it. Even Republicans are too chicken shit to do this.
Yep. Okay. So
I'm done.
Getting back to the movie, that most of what you just talked about there was absolutely none of that in the movie at all. Roger, you're up.
But it's a dumbing down of the male, and it's going on and everything. And this is why I dragged it into other things, because it's all part of the same plan, Naroki. It starts in entertainment, ends in the culture of our children, and it just carries on and on and on. That's how you and that's how you groom people, through entertainment. You make it so the heterosexual males are weak, the women are the tough guys, they're the big bad ones, and they're the tough. And look, we've always had women in movies that have been the heroes. It's going to Weaver and Aliens and all this stuff in the past. And I've said it before. It's always been there, but now they're pushing this agenda for like dumbing down of the male. They're dumbing down of heterosexual men. They're dumbing, down white men in general. And this is happening more and more. And this spinoff, it's more pushing the agenda, which leads to other agendas. That's all it is.
All right, Roger, you're up.
Oh, I mean,
go ahead, Roger, kill it.
When it comes to like what you're discussing there, I'm a 50-year-old man. Here in another month, maybe what is it?
Sounds familiar.
2 months. 2 months. from now I'm going to be 51. And I can honestly tell you, I am a misogynist pig, okay? And I am proud to be a misogynist pig because there's things that freaking I was taught when I was growing up that I know is right. Now, if you go and you ask younger men, they'll say freaking that the way I talk and the way I behave is just wrong and I'm being misogynist. But that's the way men are supposed to act. You're not supposed to freaking be, sensitive, you know what I mean? And that's just how I feel about it. Now, with what you guys were talking about with Furiosa, I haven't kept up on it. I believe they had freaking, what was it, Fury Road they came out with before that?
Mad Max Fury Road. This one was effectively a prequel to Mad Max
Right.
Fury Road.
Now, I was impressed with that because it had chicks with freaking small shorts on it. I thought that was pretty tight. If you can put freaking
chicks with dicks.
well, not chicks with dicks, like the little boy shorts they were wearing in that. I thought that was pretty cool. But that other than that, there was no real content in those movies, in my opinion. Like in the old Mad Max episodes, freaking he was a cop and he was patrolling the streets when society was falling apart. There was a storyline there. It was actually pretty decent. And as time went by, the whole series just basically went to shit. All of a sudden, freaking their Mad Max and freaking what was it, the dome where freaking what's her face
Beyond Thunderdome. Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
I kind of like that movie, but I digress. Right?
That was basically the end of it, though. You know what I mean? It was okay, but it wasn't like the original one. And with what Angel's saying too, there are some aspects that he's saying that is true. Like if you take a look at like Jodie Whittaker, okay, now Jodie Whittaker became Doctor Who. If you go and you look at her history and what she had to do with television shows and freaking movies, she was a no-name actress. She really didn't do anything that was spectacular. So why would she be given the part of Doctor Who? Maybe it's the fact that she's a lesbian. You know what I mean? And I don't like what they did with Daisy Ridley at all either, because it's like I said in your other episode, freaking you had Han Solo and you had Luke Skywalker. You had Luke Skywalker with the Millennium Falcon, and freaking all of a sudden they take this female and they incorporate both freaking Luke Skywalker and Han Solo into one character, and now she owns the freaking Millennium Falcon, and freaking Chewbacca is with her. So now one character takes the place of two men. Okay. Possibly more. I don't know. After I seen that, I walked away from it when they freaking mysteriously murdered Princess Leia on that airplane, which I personally believe that did happen. Her death is kind of mysterious, if you ask me. It's kind of like Prince.
Fisher?
Yeah. Yeah,
In
Carrie
real life?
Fisher.
Hey, I know
Yeah.
a woman who's taken Heyman's positions. Amber Hall.
Yeah.
Oh,
This stuff. Who is it?
Amber Hall. Cop that had sex with half her police department.
Oh hell, she got
Oh
videos.
my God! Yeah, that's not on either. That's not on either of the topics. But
Just
yeah,
leave.
I was reading. I was listening to the video about that like 2 days ago, and I was like, good God! Like she got fired. She got deservedly fired, and what she do? She turns around and sues them for them doing their job,
Mhm.
right? I'm like, yeah. So
Yeah, we go.
Yeah. And all I have to say about that is, if you got links to the videos, please share them because I'd like to see that.
Okay, I would have to go back through my YouTube feed.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking, Naroki. But with that, I mean, I have no problem with Furiosa freaking tanking in the box offices. You know what I mean? Fall Guy, I never really got into. I didn't even want to see that because I grew up on a TV series called Fall Guy.
The one with
And-
Lee Majors. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that.
See,
Yeah.
So when I hear Fall Guy, that's what I want to hear. I want to hear a stunt man that freaking hunts down freaking people who need to go to court. I love that shit.
Let me ask you a question. Does it bug you that when they reboot stuff so many years later and like they change the entire narrative? Because honestly, to me, it doesn't really bother me as much when it's completely like reboot and not a continuation. But does it bug you?
I hate when they mess up the storyline. I hate when they freaking like the Dukes of Hazzard. They should have just left that alone.
Oh, that was messed up.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say on.
All right.
That.
All right, Rearson, you're up.
Three,
Yeah,
two,
yeah.
one.
Yeah,
There
Okay,
he
he's
goes.
here.
Yeah. Bring it up the rear, my friend. Do it. I'm muted.
Well, with what you've said, Naroki, it's pretty consistent with the two reviews I've heard of other people that have watched it. Critical Drinker, and I can't remember who the other one was. And it came down to it's pretty much what you said. It's a good movie, but and if it's set post-apocalyptic whatever before Mad Max, and you just didn't mention Mad Max, you probably would have done better in terms of box office revenue. And in terms of all of this stuff of the boss bitch, that's called for what it is. The Mary Sues who can just magically just do everything that most women normally are not inclined to do or be. There will always be exceptions to the rule, which is fine. I don't have an issue with that. But with this constant projection of inadequacy, I don't know if that's quite the right word, or women wishing that ultimately that they were men, I don't know. I don't really care. I know that I am not going to go see the movie. And while it may be, I don't honestly think that I ever will. It's not because of the movie.
It might be good.
It could very well be, Angel. I don't know. But I'm not the media. I'm not a media person. I mean, it took me 2 or 3 years to finally watch the first Black Panther movie, and that's only because it was on D+. That was it. That's when I was still giving Disney I was giving those idiots my fucking cash. But and it
Well,
was
see, that's just wrong because it's Black Panther and it's a black guy, so kind of fit.
Well, continue, Rearson.
Yeah, well, I mean, I never cared for Black Panther as a comic book hero to begin with. I wasn't really into comics for a long time, but that's neither here nor there.
To you, not a right-wing show. It's just a no standard show.
It was an interesting exposure to a culture that I've not had any genuine interest in. I'll leave it at that. Anyway.
Black people.
No, just Africa.
Well, here's the whole thing about that movie, and this is something that you would know because I did actually know a little bit more about Black Panther than you did. Wakanda is actually in East Africa, not West Africa. They were using, and I know this because I actually checked, they were using Mansa Musa Sokotan style clothing for a country that is on the east side of Africa, and the style of clothing worn in the east side of in East Africa, like Northeast Africa, is distinctly culturally different from the Nigeria Sokotan area of Africa. And it's like, yeah, I mean, for people who are busy trying to make a Black Power movie, I mean, you would have figured that they might have been able to do a little bit more research into clothing styles when they did Black Panther. That's just something that I noticed.
Well, fair enough in that regard, but I've got to get back to the topic at hand here. But with the Thor movie, with the Acolyte, not that I'm going to fucking watch that shit because it's not Star Wars, but that's another story. the movement that's not the movement, the trend that's going in with Hollywood with comic book movies is, well, we're not going to look into the lore, but don't read the comics. We're going to do something completely new and completely different. So that doesn't surprise me that they fucked up the way that they did in that regard. Again, it's not a bad movie, not a great movie. I was happy to at least watch it. And I'm still not going to be touching Captain Marvel, but that's another story. Anyway.
Well, you watch Captain Marvel, the porno, though.
I completely forget about that, man. I really honestly do. I'm more interested in watching whatever Star Wars porn parody that's out there. There's that.
Oh, I've seen the Star Wars porn parodies. There's a really good one that was done back in 2012. But I will digress on that. Are you done? Are you done?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to watch it. I don't have any interest in it. If you were to play it, if I'm going to come up and visit you, for example, okay, sure. But am I going to go out of my way to go to my way to watch it? No, I'm not. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yep. So here's what I'm noticing. There's a lot of external factors that factored into Furiosa not doing as a decent move. And this, by the way, has happened before. Fight Club, for instance, when it initially got released, barely turned a profit. Like, it did not perform super well at the box office. So yeah, you do get the Falling Down's another one, by the way, that really didn't perform super well at the box office, but if it was released now, it would probably do a whole lot better. By the way, there's been a lot of talk about the movie Falling Down. We may have to do one of those rare movie review episodes on the movie Falling Down. But yeah, the story up here with what's going on with Furiosa is that there's a lot of outside factors that the people who are running the publicity for the show just didn't navigate properly. And that's the reason why it's going to tank. And it's unfortunate because, I mean, it is actually a decent movie. And, you know, it's a victim of what's been going on. And by the way, the whole box office, a huge majority of the movies coming out this summer fall into that category. But anyway, we need to keep this moving here. So let's get into the next topic. And this one is very interesting because this was, again, a leak that was done by, so I can't remember who it was, but, and again, this was kind of shocking because this actually kind of reveals how deep the corruption was even before Trump got elected. Like, the whole apparatus of the state was basically being leveraged against Trump. The CIA tried to buy controlling interest, I believe, in Amazon, Facebook, Google, a huge, basically a lot of the big sites. They tried to buy up through shell companies a controlling interest in all of those sites, effectively, so that they could slant those social media sites. Amazon would have been particularly devastating if they'd gotten a hold of that, because Amazon does a lot of web hosting. Oh, GoDaddy was another one. that they tried to buy a controlling interest in. They did it, and they were going to slant if they had succeeded, they would have blatantly. And this is kind of funny because when we get to topic number 5, it gets really bizarre. They failed to do it, and then of course somebody came along and did it. But I mean, this is something that we're going to have to take into consideration, because, and I'm gonna preempt a little bit about topic number 4 here. What happened this week virtually assures that Trump is going to win the presidency. What Trump is going to have to be, and by the way, there's a substantial, like, I mean, for instance, I mean, some of us out on this particular show are definitely Team Trump. I would be supporting
Shame
Trump.
on them.
I would be supporting Trump only because it's like he's by far an infinitely better candidate than Joe Biden or the Libertarian Party candidate, who was just like, wow.
Let me stop you right there real quick, and this will be very quick. A potato will be better than Joe Biden. Continue.
Yeah. So, the fact that the CIA was willing to use government federal tax money to try to buy up these internet sites and to slant them in favor of Biden is something that they're going to have to. I mean, it wouldn't work now because, of course, what happened after Biden got elected and after Facebook and Twitter and whatnot basically went on the censoring run and shut down. I don't know how many several thousand accounts on Facebook just got completely shut down 2 days after the election, mine included. Like, that won't work this time because everything is a little bit too far spread out. But yeah, one of the things, and again, I'm probably getting a little bit ahead of myself from topic number 4 here. Trump is going to have to be hyper vigilant of all of the unelected bureaucrats that are sitting in all of these departments. I'm gonna have to seriously go into all of these departments and basically throw out shit tests and so on and so forth to root out most of these people, as well as all the individuals, I think, who were involved in the lawfare that happened this week as well. It's not going to go particularly well for them either, but when I get to topic number 4, we'll talk about that. This was frightening. It didn't succeed, but I'm not surprised that they would go ahead and do this. I suspect that Western governments everywhere, I won't get into specifically what Canada has done, but Trudeau has definitely done a lot of interfering with, in particular, with Facebook and Twitter, to make sure that international reports about him don't make it into Canada, which is basically what I'm thinking he's doing. Then, of course, we're talking about this tomorrow. He's in the process of trying to lower the voting age to 16, but we won't get into that tonight. We'll do that tomorrow. But yeah, surprised, not surprised. It's one of the alphabet agencies, and I don't know, man. The way it's looking from where I'm sitting is that they're going to have to do pretty much a Javier Milei style of just like completely shutting down departments, like wholesale. in order to begin the process of reforming the U.S. government, because the U.S. government cannot continue the way it's going right now. Because if it does continue the way they're going, there won't even be a West. Period. But I mean, the United States will cease to exist as a nation. And with that, we're going Angel, Roger, V, and then Rearson. So Angel, you're up.
Well, when you say that we're losing ourselves as a nation, we've been losing ourselves as a nation for a long time. This is nothing new. What's been going on in New York with Trump is not shocking. I do think he's going to win by the numbers. Now, will he be president, Naroki? I'm not 100% sure on that. Remember one thing, and I've said it over and over again: those who control the narrative, they will control the information that flows. And if the people that are actually feeding you the news or fake news or whatever you want to call it want to say that Joe Biden won, none of us are going to be able to prove it wrong. Look what happened, when we know 2020 had shenanigans. We all saw it. We saw a video of people that couldn't get into counting areas where they were supposed to be there, and they were all conservatives, and they were kicked out. We saw the ballots being pulled out from under the tables when everybody was sent home. How this one county in Georgia was mysteriously shut down over a water pipe leak that happened 2 blocks away, but yet they were shut down and had no reason to be. I mean, we saw the harvesting of ballots. There's a lot of stuff that happened that was seen, and yet nothing happens to these people. They have the game rigged. They're going to continue doing it. Trump is getting an outrageous amount of support because what they've managed to do is they've martyred him. They've made him into a modern day Tupac, or a modern day Malcolm X. And I'm not even lying. That's why you see more and more of like the Latinos and the black community are embracing Trump. Rappers are coming now embracing him. Some of them were even against him in 2020, 2016. Why are these people coming to him and embracing him? Because they're making him, and it's really just their own stupidity for doing this. They've made him into someone we can sympathize with. He went from being the Scrooge, McDuck, from the DuckTales, right? Like everybody saw him as the rich billionaire and the evil billionaire. That's what they painted him as. Now, like everybody looks at him and they're treating him like they treat us. So there's a sympathy factor now, and it's well deserved because they're really shitting on this man who's done. I mean, I've seen some of like the stuff they talked about. I've read a lot of the stuff from the cases that he's dealing with. I've seen the court stuff. I've put time into this, and this is all baseless. There's no base for any of these charges. These should have never. And I'm not just saying this to copy his speech. It should have never been brought. I mean, that's really the bottom line. And whoever's whistling Dixie, do you have a question or? I heard somebody whistling.
Oh no, that's the cars honking in the ambulance. That's passing out
Who's
around outside.
Yeah, we just had Tupac conversation on my podcast earlier. So, is somebody getting shot up there in Canada? We don't know about.
No, not yet. Although I will go into the story. I was living on White Avenue the last time the Oilers got to the Stanley Cup final. I'm having to imagine it's going to be pretty insane. Yeah. By the way, Florida's going down, bastard. Florida's going down.
I'm not a hockey fan. Like hockey doesn't belong in Florida. I've been saying that for years. That's a northern thing. Keep it in the north. We don't have snow here. How can we have hockey?
I don't know. Maybe it's all the transplanted people from up north. Anyway, are you done? Because we're going to move on to Roger.
Yeah, Roger, take it away, bro. Kill it.
Well, with a lot of this, when it comes to the CIA and everything, it goes into some of the stuff that, like I just posted, one thing about the whistleblowers when it came to Biden and his son. And what you got to look at are these government organizations. Like they're called non-government organizations for a reason. Now you have the IRS, you got the Department of Justice, and you got even the Social Security Office, which isn't really a government facility. They're non-government organizations, and their sole purpose is to do what the government can't do within the government. You know what I mean? Like the post office is a government facility here in the United States. So the post office is an official government office, and so is the DMV, I believe, motor vehicles. But the Social Security office isn't, because they can't the government can't directly pull taxes from the people. So they have to do it through another organization that's outside of the government, you know. And one thing that I've always had a problem with was with the DOJ. The Department of Justice actually took and separated us, the people here in the United States, further from the federal government, because at one time we used to go to the freaking court system, the Supreme Court, with our grievances, and they were the ones that dealt with issues that concern us individuals and our problems. Now, what they've done is they've emulated the freaking Supreme Court and created freaking the Department of Justice, which does the job of what the Supreme Court should do. And now it's under the president's rule. You see what I mean? Supposedly.
There's too many departments of this and that, FBI, CIA. We need to like just shut these
see,
things down.
At one time with the Supreme Court, we as individuals had the power to freaking say, look, this isn't right. You need to stop it. And if the courts agreed with you, then freaking they would shut it down. Now they can't do it because the Department of Justice. You see what I mean? It's insane how they did that, and everybody thinks that this department is actually something good when in reality it isn't. I've said it for years, even before Donald Trump was around, that the Department of Justice is horrible. The worst thing freaking that ever happened to this country was John J. McCloy. He was the worst freaking person in American history to ever freaking get into politics. He's the one that started the Department of Justice. And if you really want to look even deeper, freaking New York City has always freaking been just shady as hell. Okay? This goes all the way back to the Constitution. You know, everybody had a good plan, and then here came New York. New York it was all about rich people making money, freaking plantation owners, all that shit, and it just kept getting worse. They all of a sudden came up with the Senate, and they got the Department of Justice, and now individuals like me and you can't freaking go and freaking share our freaking grievances with the court systems because they've invented cool new things like contempt of court. Now you have to freaking say certain things in court, and if you freaking speak out of line, freaking you get charged with contempt of court, which is unconstitutional, you know. So that's
they
how
gagged former president, dude. Once you understand that they gagged a president from freedom of speech.
Well, look at Sibel Edmond. Okay, Sibel Edmond, she was freaking most gagged freaking person in history. Everybody in Congress has a gag order on them. It's against the law for them to freaking tell you anything that freaking they aren't permitted to tell you. That's crazy, you know. And they've been getting away with
that's
this.
Different than but that's different than something like in a court case where you have a judge who's talking crap about you. You have a daughter of that judge who's making money and talking crap about you. And if you say the facts that this is happening, you get charged with contempt, you gagged, and you get fined. And you're just saying, this is what's happening.
Yeah, and you look at Congress. You voted these people into office because you freaking thought that they were going to go to Washington D.C. and do things on your behalf. And as soon as they get there, they're freaking handed a freaking piece of paper that gags them, telling them that if they freaking say certain things to you, the people that voted for them, they were going to go to prison. Okay, just point blank. Uh, yeah, I don't think that that's cool at all. I don't think it's cool at all that freaking we can't freaking get the truth from our own representatives because they have a gag order against them. You know, so
That's a fact. Yeah.
so I'm gonna pass on that one.
That's a fact. They do have a gag order on them. If not, the whole alien conspiracy would have been broken a long time ago. Fact.
Yeah, well, anyhow, I know, especially with my extensive research on the CIA over the past few weeks, this is not something that's beneath them. I mean, you talk about agency with like over 88 confirmed government overthrows. I think like some almost like 200 attempts. Yeah. Well, I mean, this isn't something new. I mean, NSA basically bought AT&T. Some of it financial, but some of it in other ways. All right. So, AT&T is the conduit and lapdog of the NSA. So we know that now. I avoid any kind of AT&T products that might come in my way. You know, just boycott and move on. So it's one of those things. You can actually just, you want to drain the government? Well, if they're going to spend our tax dollars on buying huge chunks of social media, well, then just not subscribe to that social media and let it shrink, let it die. There are other social networks.
The problem is, V, is there's too many people out there who just don't give a crap.
Yeah, but there's enough, you know.
They like their TikTok, they like their Facebook, they like their Twitter. Now their Mac is Twitter's gone, it's all X. These are the people that are unfortunately are inheriting the earth.
I hear you, but something that is going to be incentive is when these people go to other networks and they find, yeah, oh, wait a minute, they do have the option to make some money. Oh, they do have the option to gain influence. And they'll naturally make the switch. I mean, that's happened before. It'll happen again. So, but it's, I mean, at least it's not like at least in this manner, it's not like a front company, because you could be buying products. For example, Amway. Amway used to fund the NSA. Amway was a front company for the NSA. So, you could buying products, you could be doing anything to fund this terrorism of this state-funded. By the way, this is not supposed to be, the CIA is not supposed to be operating within the United States. So they might have some legal trouble with this. At least I hope they do. But to buy an American corporation that has American influence, I would I think I would address that underneath operations within the United States. But again, it could just mean covert operations, and which is why this is in the news. Maybe that's why we even know about it in the first place. I'm not sure. All their dealings within the United States maybe has to be published. If that's the case, that's great. I love that. But they're only doing this. It's not so much as to be able to censor, although they would be doing that left and right. But it's for the information gathering. They would no longer have to go through Congress. They would no longer have to go through any governing body to collect data on the American people if they own the piece of that corporation, of that company. They don't have to go through any clearances. And so that is like one of those things. Who owns what? You got to do a lot of digging. A friend of mine taught me how to do this, who was an expert in real estate. He's like, you gotta dig. You gotta verify who's who, who has any kind of leverage against this person, who has leverage against that entity, and so forth. And you'll see a lot of times, so many crimes have been uncovered when you file that shell game companies, and you'll find some shocking stuff at the end of your rabbit hole. For anybody who's bored with conspiracy theories, do the hole of property, follow money, yeah. But find who's got a trust, who's got insurance policies on top of their heads. Because that's the modern way to do hits on people. Put unsuspecting insurance policy of $1 million on somebody. They don't know it. But boom, that person's dead and somebody's collecting. For example, these are the kind of things you have to watch. Who owns who? There's so many shifty companies out there that will try to escape the bad reputation that their company created. They'll try to change the names and then try to reboot, even though it's the same scumbags sitting at the top.
V, remember Southern Bell?
Yes.
They became then Bell South. Remember that?
Right.
Do you remember who they were before? AT&T. Then AT&T went away for a little bit, and then they came back, and then it was AT&T and Bell South, and then Bell South went away, and AT&T became AT&T again.
See,
so it's a whole comedy thing on there because it's funny that they sold the company, changed the name, and they sold it back, changed the name again, and it's like what you're saying. This is all money play. It's around and around and around, and they sell between themselves, and they make a ton of money doing this.
Exactly. And so my point is that America is not a country, it's a company. That's why we have a president.
It's a corporation that houses many corporations. That's really what it is.
So you're going to find that a lot of these big corporations, they wouldn't be big corporations if it weren't for the help of the CIA's corporate espionage. That's a big division. That's a money maker. They get the contracts, international contracts, government contracts, military contracts. CIA does a lot of contract work, believe you me. So, yeah, this is corporate America. So we had that eBay scandal, right? eBay hired CIA to harass some bloggers. Or I'm sorry, it's eBay. paid several people to do a gang stalking campaign on some people who just talking trash about him, some blogger site. So I mean, your corporations go hand in hand with government. That's one of those things. And that liaisons, that's your intelligence agencies. They're all hand in hand. So beware. And that's all for me.
I'm gonna say, was it not JFK that wanted to break up the CIA into 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds?
And then his brain became 1,000 pieces and scattered to the winds. So now
I
you know
think
why
you're
it doesn't
right.
work anymore.
Yeah, he lost.
Didn't he
Yeah.
also? He's the one who came up with NCIS too, right? Because as a retaliation for the CIA.
Okay, that's quite possible. I'm not familiar with that, but nothing really surprises me.
Because well, it might have been. I know it was one of the presidents that did that. So, but I think you're right.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, Roger. The reason why that I'm bringing it up is, and as V had just pointed out as well too, is that the CIA has. I mean, yeah, it probably was the CIA. No, it would have been the CIA that would have had to set up shell companies to get enough titanium in small quantities from Russia to make the SR-71 Blackbird. So for them to move into social media, sorry, let me rephrase that. For them not to move into social media would be someone being incredibly naive. I can't remember how many companies that are out there that are CIA companies for IT, for example, and new tech or fucking whatever else that's out there. And more often than not, you're going to see people that are connected to the intelligence network, I guess would be the best way to say it, that are working in those shell companies. So for them to move into trying to gain majority stock ownership in companies, as mentioned, was Amazon or with GoDaddy or so many others, I can only imagine. It's not that much of a stretch of the imagination to be, at the end of it, to be, call it for what it is or what it should be said, folks. Let's not be surprised and let's not kid ourselves. Don't get me wrong, I don't like this at all, but it is what it is. And it's not surprising. That's really the biggest thing of it all, so that it should not be that surprising for any of us here. and and given all of the chicanery that the CIA has been involved with, JFK and the Secret Service and whatever else that went along with that, quite likely George Bush Sr., but nothing's been officially released yet. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, again, my Crackbook account was taken down because I posted something about Hunter Biden's laptop, and I could only get my account back by submitting my driver's license to verify that it is indeed me. And I had 30 days to comply. Needless to say, I didn't comply. Now I am back on Crackbook, or LifeLog, let's call it for what it is, folks. But with a new account, and I'm just doing a whole lot less than I used to. So, yeah, again, surprised but not surprised that they would do this kind of shit because, well, it's what they do. And this really, I brought this point up before, as Angel was saying about contractors within the intelligence agency, but there's a hell of a lot of contractors also with the American military. And I really don't see how this is any different than what we would see with the Chinese government and the military and their agencies as well too, doing the same thing. It's just that, well, it's America versus China, but anyway. Yeah, shocked but not shocked. And Naroki, I don't honestly have anything more to say about that. So back to you. Do.
Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah, no, my computer's been glitching out a little bit tonight. I think you guys pretty much covered it all. The next topic is a really interesting one, because this pandemic treaty was, for all intents and purposes, a shell. Was an attempt by a rather flagrant attempt by the globalists to try to just blatantly take power, right? The way the World Health Organization pandemic treaty is written is that if a pandemic takes place, the actual national government is no longer in charge. It's the World Health Organization. So then what you would do at that point is, once you have that in place, you manufacture another pandemic and you're off to the races. Now, of course, this thing got ratified up in Canada, of course, because we're talking about Justin Trudeau here. In the US, it got to the floor of the House, and it got shot down on the floor of the House. I don't think it may have also. There's enough Democrats who are not completely indoctrinated that I think they probably would have had some real difficulty passing.
Whoa!
You have to excuse me. Somebody with a rather small dick and large and even smaller
Fast and the
muffler decided
Furious.
to. Yeah. No, White Avenue is going to be nuts tonight. And I just hold on a second.
I didn't know people did that kind of shit in Canada.
Oh no, they do. They will do it. I was here. I was living right on White Ave. Back in
Man, they go
2006.
crazy up there. Like the Oilers win 2 games in a row. Can you imagine now?
Well,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
no,
shit.
it's the Stanley Cup final.
Forgot.
It's gonna be absolutely insane.
Attack of the
Hopefully they're not
Toothless.
rioting. Hopefully they're not going to riot on White like they did back in 2006. I was actually not. I was not involved in the riot, but I saw what occurred in the riot.
He was involved. Listen, how I said that, you can tell.
He's told some.
He's not going to publicly say.
Let's just say I was there. I saw what happened. I didn't participate.
Okay.
But he took some TVs. Wink, wink.
Yeah. So, well, actually, there's no electronic shop on White Avenue to plunder like that. So, but anyway,
like when there's riots and like people are like stealing TVs, and you're like, what's this got to do with somebody getting murdered? Like, why you got to go in and shoplift the TV for? Like,
well, we covered a story like that in Philadelphia, where it was this case where it was rather clear cut that the person involved was the bad guy, and a bunch of criminals organized a pillaging party. That was the one that, oh yeah, God damn it, V, how dare you show us Meatball in a fucking bikini? Oh my God.
Whoa. It's a good thing I'm not looking at Skype here.
Sorry for pardon the language, man, but that was maybe I'm sorry. I'm not quite that. I'm not angry at it, but I mean that was one of those ones where it's like I had to wash out my eyes afterwards. Anyway, getting back to the actual.
Whatever you say.
Okay, maybe you like that type of a woman, but I was like, oh no, that was one of those.
Oh wait, which
like,
woman? What are you talking about?
Meatball from that
Well,
Philadelphia.
I think he sent it to you. He sent it to you in private though, because it's not in the chat room here. Thank God.
Oh no, it was a while. It
I'm
was a while back.
I'm just gonna pretend like I know what you're talking about. To continue.
Anyway, so the WHO treaty, it didn't get past the Congress, obviously, because if it had somehow managed to get past Congress, which it didn't, Joe Biden absolutely would have signed it. A lot of countries didn't sign up because I mean it was pretty obvious what they were trying to do here. They were basically trying to subvert national authority, and then the next move would be to create a false pandemic in order to take charge. I mean, such a flagrant attempt, not even trying to hide it, to try to basically run the planet under the guise of an emergency. Which, by the way, I remember that from Behold a Pale Horse. William Cooper was talking about how they would use emergency measures to try to usurp national governments. I remember that quite specifically. The whole. Actually, Meatball was better looking than that one. Was better looking than her. Not by much, though.
No, that's pretty grotesque.
That's wow. Yeah. Is that even human angel?
No, but the question is legit though. If you showed up and that's your blind date, would you stay or leave, gentlemen?
I am MGTOW. I would never even submit to a blind date, but on a hypothetical situation, since I am MGTOW, I would literally just get up and walk out. That would be me. I would be polite about it, but I would be like, I would be polite about it, but it would be like, yeah, no, sorry, you're not my type.
I'd be like, show me what them lips do.
I can understand.
I was thinking about the lips
Why
too.
did she do that to her nose? That's what I want to know.
I mean,
are those?
do
Do they resemble the aliens that have been abducting you in gimp suits on a regular basis, Rearson?
I assure
No
you.
comments.
I assure you. No.
balls deep. That's all I gotta say. Balls deep.
Well, I mean, if they have lips like that and they can work wonders, the things I'm not enjoying at home, I mean, I come back. I don't know. But
I mean, come on, guys, get serious. I mean, tell me that you guys never let a fat girl give you a hand job when you was a teenager.
A fat girl, yes, but a thing like this, I would
define. First of all, define fat for one. That's the first thing.
Whatever you define fat as.
Well,
because for me, for instance, and Rearson remembers this woman, I would have considered, say, that woman we played D&D with, that Rearson was with that one time. I would consider her to be
Brandy.
Oh yeah, Brandy. I would consider her to be like overweight, but not fat. No.
Okay, I'll give you a good example for those who might not know who that person is. Would you hit something like Ricky Lake, when she was at her fattest?
There you go.
No.
Good.
No.
I mean, just a hand job.
Yeah, why not? Sure.
Just a hand job.
But that's feet.
Okay,
so was nobody else here actually taught that when they were younger, nobody here was taught that fat girls are for practice?
I heard it. I don't care.
Yes.
Anyway, so let's get that. So let's get back to get back to the topic here. This is fun, but we got to stay on topic here. So yeah, the WHO pandemic treaty failed to pass. It was a rather transparent attempt to take to I think to legitimize a one world government. It didn't pass in the U.S. Trudeau sailed it through in Canada, but it didn't pass. And it's like again, right? Looks like it's not going to. And with it, I'm going over to Angel. Let's try to stay on topic, though. Okay, Angel, floor is yours.
Can I go next? Because I'm actually I was going to the little boy's room, kind of an emergency, real quick.
Okay, all right, V, you're up.
Yeah, V, please.
Well, okay, so yeah, the thing about this shouldn't actually be a surprise, okay? If when it comes to treaties, international treaties, Geneva Convention stuff, it doesn't matter. The United States will say no, while everybody else signs up. You wouldn't believe the low rate of world human rights violation situations have been ignored by the U.S. As a member of the UN, voting down stuff, just like this stuff's not important. It's supposed to be setting examples. We're supposed to be leaders of the new world, the bastion and symbol of freedom and justice. Yet, the United States will just like say, hey, no, screw you. We run the UN. We are the UN. We don't have to say or do anything. So, in the same vein, in the same fashion here, we're still showing our national pride, I guess, our national independence. So I guess that's a good thing in this situation. It's not always a good thing. Sometimes you need to unite for a good purpose. I'm waiting to see when that's going to happen. But in this situation, definitely keeping our national sovereignty is a good move here. Not much more opinionated on the topic. So, I don't know. Roger, you ready?
I guess I can't, but a lot of this goes back to what a lot of people in the conspiracy circles talked about back in the day with Agenda 21. I don't know if you guys remember that, but the thing of it is you can't freaking second guess these people. Just because you hear that it failed doesn't mean it actually failed, because like Agenda 21 was supposed to be like a non-binding action plan that was supposed to be created by the United Nations and all these governments, and this was back in 1992. It was supposed to talk about how we impact the environment and stuff like that, and it was supposed to be, it was a mock-up imitation of the actual events. Well, everybody during that time period was always saying, no, this isn't going to be an enactment. This is going to be the real deal. They're just trying to freaking hoodwink you. And that's what they were doing, because when Agenda 21 finally came up, that's when all of a sudden it was the Paris Accords. Instead of Agenda 21, now it's the Paris Accords, So that's what was going on with that, and this is the same thing, man. They're not going to stop. They're going to keep trying to do this stuff and keep trying to freaking push it. It's like in the EU, when you look at freaking the way they do their politics, they put a referendum before the EU, and if it doesn't get accepted the first time, they just run it right back through until it does get accepted. They don't have to freaking. There's nothing saying, look, you've already tried once or twice, leave it be. They just keep running it through until it's accepted. And that's what they do with freaking the UN, too. So, like I said, just be watchful about this stuff. Just because they said that it was a failed attempt doesn't mean that it's over. They're gonna come back with some more crap. So I'm gonna shut up and let freaking that angel take over.
Well, the way I feel about this, and I'm going to be brief on this. I know you're probably expecting to go on an hour rant on this one, but I'm not. All I'll say is that I'm not shocked of anything I hear anymore when it comes to the UN. United Nations has been corrupt for many, many years, and we've been involved in feeding into the corruption of the United Nations. And for a lot of people in conspiracy, we like to throw the term around New World Order, right? But the only thing the United Nations is. A magician does his illusions right in your face. You just don't see it. And that's where they've been all along. And whether it's the Paris Accord Agreement, United Nations, there's always going to be a power movement in the world. There's always going to be that next New World Order that tries to take over everything. Like we were saying before, we live in a country that's a big corporation. And, this is a republic, but you hear so much. It's a democracy. No, it's a republic. It is what it is. We got to understand what we are. And we got to understand also that right now the United Nations is not anything that's beneficial to us in this country. And they've been, not beneficial for a long time. The ones that have been benefiting has been them because we keep giving them our taxpayer money, which is illegally taken from us anyway because we're not constitutionally bound to pay taxes. And I know that's going a little bit off script, Naroki, but it all connects the dots, and we're suckers. We keep feeding these people billions of dollars, and they keep taking us for granted. And I think this is why you're seeing more and more people wake up and really pay attention to what's going on. But the problem is, a lot of these things cannot be handled overnight, and they won't. And unfortunately, we're all slaves to a system where if we don't work, half of the day or more, we're not going to be able to make bills. So what good is it going to do you to try to fight back and do something where it might even cost you your ability to work? And that's why a lot of people don't speak up, and this is how they get away with it. And with that, I'm gonna let my friend Steve bring it up the rear, or something like that. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, something
Pipe.
like that. Yep.
Well, pipe. No, never mind. Go ahead.
Um, I just have to honestly wonder, and I suppose in a sense, this is actually a good segue into the next topic, which I believe is all about the Trump trial and verdict. But I don't think that this is going to matter all that much, with the assumption that Trump's going to win the election. Because if he does, my expectation is that he's going to go on a tear and deal with as much of the corruption that he can with the second term.
Can I ask you real quick? And I'm not. This is just a question. Mm-hmm. It's a hypothetical. Yeah. His first term, we saw what happened. Nancy Pelosi made his 4 years miserable with fake impeachments. Do we not think that the sequel, if he becomes president, is not going to happen again? Think about that. We might just be seeing that all over again, where this guy is railroaded and can be an effective president, and whatever he does that ends up, being good, they're going to try to tarnish it, with their lives. But I mean, do you see that as a possible issue if he does win?
No, I don't, because I don't see people like Pelosi being around.
She's
I
still
mean,
rich, though.
okay, for an 80-year-old woman, she looks she looks like she's at least she's about 20 years younger with her body, at least with her fucking neck.
I don't know about all that, but you remember they drink all that baby brain juice. So I don't know.
And honestly, I don't know. um, I don't see it happening, to be quite honest with you, Angel, because I mean, there is the strong possibility that there may not be an election. Don't ask me how that'll look. And if that's the case, then well, the United States is still under martial law because of September 11th. Just that no one's made it official and interfered with civilian processes such as elections. So it there's so much that could happen one way or the other. And my feeling will be that, especially given executive orders with crimes against humanity, that gives president, assuming it'll be Trump, that gives him broad powers to basically deal with people, corporations, companies, and organizations for that matter, which I do believe I would include the WHO into that, for the extreme chicanery that they did. Now, is it going to happen? I can't say. I would not be the least bit surprised if the WHO was taken down and taken out. But right now, time will tell. So we will see. Will I be right? Maybe. I don't know. So, Naroki, I don't honestly have anything more to say on this one.
I just hope they don't kill Trump, because that's also been put out there.
I won't disagree that they're going to do their best to take him out. But given the level of what I feel is loyalty with at least the white hat aspect of the U.S. military and the intelligence agencies and services, I've got a feeling that they're working overtime to make sure that that doesn't happen. But again, that's
I don't know.
We'll see.
The reason I say I don't know is because remember, one of the first few things that Biden did when he took over, they got rid of a lot of conservative military people and replaced them with liberals that signed up, and a lot of them were transgender from Antifa. That's where they ended up. Just in case people didn't know or weren't aware of that. A lot of them were taken also from military because they were part of a certain community, and they were indoctrinated to do Antifa work. This is why Congress denies Antifa exists, because some of them were actually military folks out there. That's right. That's the cover story. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And,
no, fair enough. As I said, we'll see. I might be right. I might be wrong. I don't know. And if that is indeed what may happen, that's well outside of my sphere of influence. So, and at that point, we're just spectators anyway. So, we'll see. And on that note,
exactly.
I've got nothing more to say. So I am done.
All right, so let's get on with it. Oh, this is the one that I kind of figured. We will try to keep this particular topic contained to, I don't know. We might actually get through this one pretty quickly. Who knows? But it is the Donald Trump conviction. I have been kind of. I wasn't following it especially close because I mean I had seen what had happened every time the Democrats tried to use lawfare on Trump. And every time they did it, it backfired on them. And Trump just kept getting more and more and more popular because effectively what the Biden administration is doing, other people backing Biden are doing, are basically banana republicing the White House when they pull stuff like this, right? I mean, this is something that you expect in some rinky-dink third world country, not what you would have figured out in the U.S. But I gotta keep in mind, I mean, it wasn't really all that long ago, back in the 70s. There was an attempted armed takeover of a Western country. That was France, and in fact, it happened just before we started the podcast. But apparently there was an attempted armed coup in Turkey, which is actually not technically, they are part of NATO, and hence they are part of the West. So yeah, coups like this do happen. There was one attempted military style coup that has been attempted in the United States. It was stopped before it got anywhere, but it happened in the 30s, and it was targeting, oddly enough, FDR. And it got stopped in its tracks. So that probably that coup had succeeded, the United States might have actually signed up on board to help Hitler and not Churchill in that particular situation. It didn't get anywhere. Don't think there's been any armed that I know about in Canada so far. There have been some pretty nasty protests, including the trucker convoy protests here just not even 18 months ago now. A little over 18 months ago. Sorry. So yeah, there were legal inconsistencies during the Trump trial that occurred all the way through. And I'm gonna try to mention the ones that I can mention. Deliberately scheduling the trial on dates when Trump had to be at certain I mean, it didn't matter because he got the Republican nomination anyway, but they were trying to schedule this trial at times when he was at critical primaries. And they were hoping to do this so that they could get Nikki Haley through, which obviously didn't work. There was deliberate use by the judge and by the prosecutors to try to get Trump to stay in New York as much as humanly possible so he couldn't campaign. There was a lot of exculpatory evidence that the defense was not allowed to use. There was and these are the ones that I can remember. There was the very, very out of character instructions that the judge gave to the jury, which I think was almost certainly played a part in why they came back in with unanimous guilt. There may have been some attempts at intimidating the jury behind the scenes that didn't get caught, that might get revealed later. Those are just the four that I can specifically remember. Some people maybe followed it a whole lot more closely than I did. I'm going to go out on the record. I'm going to say that the judge is, even though what he basically got, what he got found guilty for would fall under the category of a really weak felony or a really strong misdemeanor. I can also tell you that in doing this to Trump, they have opened this up so that every ex-president, including, by the way, Bill Clinton, who did the exact same thing Trump did, but that was tied into his impeachment that occurred back in '99.
Well,
That leaves him vulnerable to criminal prosecution now as well. Here's the ironic part, and this is something and this tells you how out of touch this establishment is with the people around them. Every single time they tried lawfare against Trump, Trump's support got stronger. Now, I've heard stories, and I haven't been over at 270 to win, so I can't actually track, and they probably haven't done any polls at any of the states yet to tell. But apparently, I've heard that the slip is as much as 5%, which is huge. That literally guarantees Trump is going to win, because Trump, every single one of the swing states except Wisconsin, was in Trump's favor. And even in Wisconsin, I think the lead was like 0.2 or 0.3 of a percentage point. So that's probably swung back over to Trump. Certain other states, Maine, Oregon, a few other sort of areas, New Mexico, some other states that North Carolina and Virginia among them, that were kind of like not super strongly blue, may end up turning into, here's the thing, the fact that those states might end up becoming swing states, that's pretty much game over. Last time I checked, the running total of campaign money that Donald Trump has raised since he was found guilty is like $54 million. The case is definitely appealable and will be appealed. An appeal, they won't be able to run this up. They won't be able to fast track this appeal through before before the election is done. So they effectively accomplished nothing, and the individuals, again, as completely, and by the way, I'm going to say this just so that we're on the record. I am not like fully team Trump here. I've got some very, very strong reservations about Trump. It's just that Trump is so infinitely better than Biden. It's not even close at this point. But I mean, reservations aside, this was a kangaroo court. This was a stacked hearing. This was an attempt to use lawfare to get in Biden's case, to get your chief political opponent in jail, which is something they do in banana republics. It's not supposed to happen in the US. So, yeah. Gonna go. I went on the limb in 2020 and said that Trump was going to win, and that ended up being wrong. But we're talking about a different situation now. The individuals who were calling the shots back in 2020 are probably still the same people, and they're still trying to run the same playbook, except that the opposition is now familiar with that playbook. And it's not, and to nobody's surprise, it's not doing nearly as well as you think it would. And, yeah, he was found guilty. Yeah, I'm seeing all of the usual quote unquote, edgy leftists posting up, yay, we finally got Trump. But the thing is, though, is that you got Trump on some really weak charges, and virtually guaranteed. The people who engaged in this lawfare are in a world of trouble if Trump wins the election this year, and it looking very much now like he is going to win. And this literally locked it down, because if you throw Trump in jail at this point, you make a martyr out of him. That's effectively what you do. This is the same sort of thing I've been telling people about the manosphere when it comes to Andrew Tate. If they throw Andrew Tate in prison, and I'm not saying that Tate and Trump are similar people, I'm just saying that this is an equivalency. Attempting to get Andrew Tate into jail it's going to be the similar effect. You're basically going to turn him into a martyr, and you're going to turn him into a clear and visible symbol for the opposition to Biden to rally around. And that's where I'm going to stop, and I'm going to turn it over to Angel. Please don't go forever, Angel. But yeah, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Well, when I'm done, it's going to be like 3 weeks later, and I'm done. You know, all jokes aside, um, I was watching earlier uh, a broadcast. They were asking, you know, how is it that after this conviction that Trump is not only gaining in the polls, but he's doing better with African Americans and Latinos? How is this possible? And I said this on my show, actually, with Roger. I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. They've not only done a job where he's martyred, like you said, Naroki, but they're literally turning him into a modern day Tupac. And a lot of people have been saying this in the news also. And do I mean by that is they're turning a guy who we've seen for years as this billionaire who, everybody wanted to be like because he was always above what we all could achieve with all that money. And now they brought him down to our level to where, like, we look at him and he's like, he's one of us. The system is railroading him like they've done to us for decades. And that's why from 2020, when he was, 8 points, I guess he was like 8% polling with the African American community. Now he's like at 25%. Now, just so you get a little clarity here, since Nixon, no Republican has hit numbers above 40% or 30% or 20%. Nixon was somewhere in the 18 or something percent. Trump is 25% approval from the African American and Latino community, and mostly the polling was African Americans. So this will tell you there's been a humongous shift in the demographic because they literally are bringing him down to a level where we see him as as what it is, and we see him as who he is, and he's very much a human being like the rest of us. Puts his pants on like one leg at a time, and we can tell when he's being screwed by the system more now than ever before, because we have television, we have the internet, we have smartphones, we have this technology, and the news is bombarded into our everyday existence that watching the court hearings or watching C-SPAN and seeing the Congress stuff, this is more exciting than watching most TV shows. Like, I rather watch, this stuff than like Superman and Lois or a superhero show. Trump is a real life Batman with all the bat suit. Okay? The police went after Batman. The police went after Trump. The government went after Batman. The government are going after Trump. We're seeing it. It's playing out before our eyes. This particular case, and to correct you, Naroki, this case is based on nothing. There's no charges that are even known. There's 34 ghost counts because nobody knows what the charges are. The people involved don't even know. When they were asked to please clarify the charges before the final verdict, the people prosecuting Trump said, "We'll figure it out once the verdict is read." Who the hell does that? And we still don't know. But what happened is they went in, they took a document that Michael Cohen did and filled out, and it was a document to a porn star who's a hooker. Okay, and he and her knew each other. By the way, she also knew Kamala Harris, and she knew Clinton. This person got around. She's not like some nincompoop. She had her connections, and she's a whore. Let's be honest. This is what she does for a living. Even look, if you take money on the screen and you get paid to do movies, you're a porn star. When you take money off screen and in private to by rich people, you're a whore. That's prostitution. Case closed. Not a good role model for her kids. She got kids, not a good mommy. And you know what? But this is a woman who said clearly that they never even had sex. This was written down. She signed it. Supposedly she signed an NDA, right? So you're telling me that a woman who signed an NDA got paid a sum of money, over 130,000 or whatever it was, and she's talking and nobody's saying, "Wait a second, you know that breaks your NDA, right? You could go to prison for that, right? Because an NDA is signed every day in this country and it's perfectly legal. In fact, this case is a he said she said case from what 20 years ago. Okay, where a document that was signed by a lawyer without Trump even knowing about it, and he's being charged because he paid his lawyers, and in the statement, and now it wasn't even Trump, by the way, it was the people that do the documents for Trump made it payable to his lawyer as a lawyer fee. That's how everybody pays their lawyers. Remember when you sign checks, there's very little line there, and you have very little space to put what the payment is for. So when they paid lawyers, they put somehow Trump is the bad guy because they put lawyer fees. What do they want to furry up to? I'll put paying for a whore. No. First of all, that would incriminate them and it'd be awfully stupid. But I mean, that's not even the charge. And then they also say, well, he used his own money. He didn't even use campaign funds. But hold on there, hold on, Yoko Ono. Before you break up the Beatles, let me ask you a question here. If he uses campaign funds, which is illegal, you could take him to prison for that. It's not illegal to pay somebody off with your own money. There's no law against that. So he did something, let's say he did it, okay, let's say he banged a hooker 20 years ago. I don't care. He wasn't a politician. Doesn't matter to me. But if he paid it with his own money, no crime. Okay, so why are they complaining? Oh, well, like he didn't pay with his campaign funds. But why are you complaining? If he would have done that, there would have been a crime. And still, there's no crime, but you took him to court and you charged him in a district that is heavily Democratic and with all leftist jurors, a leftist judge who's Juan Merchan, by the way, is of Mexican descent, ironically enough. He's been talking trash about Trump for weeks and weeks before the trial. His daughter's been on TikTok and Instagram and all these places, talking bad about Trump, trashing him on a constant basis. They're making money off of Trump. If they would have gotten this conviction, which they got, this is benefiting them financially, okay? And this is the judge they put on this case. On top of that, the star witness, Michael Cohen, it's a known liar who went to prison for lying. On top of that, he has a TV show called The Fixer, which he needed this win because he's been losing a lot. This validates now that show so he could have his own TV show. So he's benefiting on lying again, which he was caught under oath on this trial lying multiple times. So you're basing your case on a liar, documents that Trump never saw, he said, she said case where Trump said he never banged her, but like somehow, like he did it anyway. Now, Joe Biden raped Tara Reid, the intern, and they swept that under the rugs. She had evidence. She had witnesses that she talked to. She had a phone call from the 90s to people in radio stations complaining about this. She complained to people in Congress. She filed complaint orders years and years ago, and nobody wanted to hear it. They swept that under the rug because Joe Biden, the senator and vice president at the time, had to fix. Remember, the laptop was real. All these countries are feeding much more than we could expect in the billions of dollars, not only through the Bidens, but to a lot of the people that are being put into power. It's, like I said on my show a couple hours ago, it's no wonder why we're seeing more and more people in Congress that are radicals because they're being put there on purpose. This is a major Trojan horse. And people say, "Oh, it's going to be a coup." No, the coup it's already started a long time ago. Right now, we're facing a total annihilation of this country, and this is why you're seeing Latinos and blacks and minorities switching and opening their eyes and saying, "You know what? If we don't do something now, we're going to lose this country. It's already almost there." And hopefully more patriotism shows up. I don't care what color or background you are. If you believe in this country and you got here because you got here somehow, whether you're from another country and you became a U.S. citizen legally, you did it because this is the greatest country on earth, right? Because you believe in the freedoms and the stuff that we have here. They violated all of that in this trial. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of the press, everything, freedom of self-defense. They couldn't bring things up on this trial that they could have brought up. They weren't allowed. The judge overstepped his boundaries many times, broke laws as constitutional laws as a judge. Other lawyers and judges have said, yeah, this guy really messed up. But yet, we can't say anything. If we speak up, if we start making our voices heard, they cancel us. And if we, we show up in masses, they send us to prison. They showed us that the hard way on January 6th. And my thing is, and I'm almost done here, guys, I do think that if Trump wins, maybe right even before it, they'll declare martial law. There's going to be something bigger than January 6th, and I hate to say this, but I think, and I believe that's what's going to end up happening, either right before or right after the elections, to make it so there's no transition of power, and this is going to be done by the left, and this is how they're going to try to steal it and keep the power, because to them, they don't care about the Constitution. They've proven that already. They don't care about killing innocent people. They've proven that already. They don't care about destroying this country. They want that. And they've got the positions filled, whether it's the mainstream media, academics, whatever, sports, Hollywood, they have it all figured out. They have enough evil in play in positions of power that now they've poked the bear and we're all waking up. There's not much we can do. We're already trapped in the matrix. And folks, it's going to be a bumpy ride from here to November. But if we don't show up in such a large amount to where they can rig it, we're fucked as a country. And, us being fucked as a country is going to fuck the rest of the world. And that is the sad part of the reality that we're facing in the next few months. With that, I'm done.
All right. Well, with everything that's going on with Donald Trump right now, first of all, I mean, I agree with what Naroki says. I'm the same way. I'm not like a hardcore Donald Trump fan, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I don't like seeing something like this taking place, And I'm not going to lie. The one real reason why I'm voting for Donald Trump, the most important reason, is for the fact that I don't like when frickin' our court systems are being used the way it is. I'm actually voting for him because of the way frickin' these politicians have been acting and what they've been doing. And I have no problem with saying that. I mean, I might have had a problem with saying that maybe 8, 12 years ago, You know, it might have felt wrong, but it's gotten to the point where it doesn't matter if it feels right or feels wrong. You're going to have to freaking do something about it. I mean, this man has been brought up on charges that freaking anybody else wouldn't have been brought up on. You know, JFK, for goodness sakes, he had freaking an affair with freaking Marilyn Monroe, and nobody even said anything about that. You had freaking Clinton. You know, he was freaking forcing state troopers to freaking have sex with him before he was even president of the United States. His freaking brother was a coke addict who was having sex with teenage girls. You know, nobody freaking even mentioned that until after he left office. And then Monica
He pardoned
Lewinsky.
his brother. Remember, he pardoned his brother from
Yeah,
charges and got
exactly.
him off.
You
Not
know,
only that,
and
he has, I don't know if you know this, he has a black son that he doesn't acknowledge.
well, I mean, the thing of it is it's like it's gotten to the point now where freaking I basically I'm gonna vote for Donald Trump on the simple fact that freaking he's being freaking done this way. It's not on his credentials or anything of that nature. It's pretty basic. And I don't agree with it. I think that our court systems have been freaking manipulated, and the things that these politicians have done, they pretty much molested and freaking perverted our court systems by doing shit like this. Our form of government is gone completely to the freaking socialist, and I have no problem with saying the word socialist. As a matter of fact, on my show, that's what we've been talking about, socialism, and how it's been affecting all these countries like Canada and England and the United States and New Zealand. You know, if you want to see socialism at its best, freaking look at New Zealand politics. Okay, these people are freaking literally being freaking told what to do and how to do it, and freaking if you don't agree with their terms, you're going to take your children away, and then you're going to go get put in state programs and do it the way they're told, or you don't get your kids back. You know, stuff like that. They have no problem with it. You know. Um, and that's what this all comes down to. It's like they want you to freaking become a part of the freaking state-sponsored socialist program, and if you don't give in to that freaking way of thinking, then freaking you will be freaking trained. You'll be trained. They're going to train you how to think, and if you don't freaking go according to what they freaking want you to think, they're going to freaking shun you, and you're going to be cast out. So I believe that if Donald Trump doesn't get into office, a lot of bad things are going to happen. I'm talking freaking revolution coming type of things. This is probably the final straw that's going to break the camel's back. I don't see a peaceful way out of it, and I'm just talking about that when I look at the turmoil that's happened in the last freaking two elections. You know. It's getting pretty bad. I mean, we had freaking Antifa out rioting the streets when freaking Donald Trump was taking office, destroying property, and then freaking the riots that happened with freaking Donald Trump when Biden got into office. You know, this stuff is escalating and it's getting worse. And we better start paying attention to it because it doesn't matter which side you're on, okay? People are freaking screaming. They're screaming loud and nobody's listening. The government doesn't want to listen. And if something's not done, we're going to end up having a revolution. So that's all I got to say.
Revolution. Don't start talking.
Viva la revolución. Ah.
Oh, see now we're having phone sex.
Yeah, baby.
Talking real dirty.
I mean, it's happening. You know, if you pay attention, you'll see it. There's going to be some bad shit coming down the pipelines if this stuff doesn't straighten out.
You know, it needs to. It really does. We need a revolution. The government is a piece of fruit. It's gotten rotten, and now it needs to be replaced. That's the whole point of a revolution. Stuff
Yeah,
rocks.
the problem there, V, is like, yeah, that's a revolution. That's great and dandy. But what's going to replace what we have now? And why would we want to replace the greatest country on earth? That's why the immigrants come here, because this is the best country on earth. What we need to do is not have a revolution. We need to kick out the motherfuckers who are trying to destroy this country.
We don't need to change the system. The system works. Any system works. I would even say communism. Communism works. If you don't
Never
have
has.
anybody,
It's been tried. It never has, bro. Never
no,
has.
it would work.
That's a fallacy.
It would
On
work
paper, maybe, but not in real
just
life.
as capitalism if there was nobody corrupt in the system. No governmental system's going to work if there are politicians that are corrupt. They're military officials that are corrupt. No government system's going to work. So it's not the system that's the problem. You got to get rid of the corruption in the system. The model, I believe the model works. You just, we're like we're like in a vehicle.
This is why it doesn't. This is why it never works, because it doesn't matter what system you put in place. When you have human beings involved
It's going
with
to
agendas, it's going to get destroyed and corrupt. This is why you need a system that is by the people, for the people, like we have here, where we have terms, meaning that you cannot do more than 2 terms as a sitting president. We have different sides, so now one side governs the entire time. This is why the model here is so different from a lot of other countries. But the problem is, it's been taken over from the inside.
Well, like I said, no government's going to work. No government if the party members are corrupt.
Exactly.
It'll work for them. It'll work for them. It's not going to work for the people. So that's why it's in the name, revolution. It's something you have to do, just like you clean your kitchen after you've cooked the big meal. Just like you clean your room every couple days, every few days. It's a revolving thing that you just have to do. And unfortunately, we are at that point. We need to clean shop. So these charges, so does this have anything to do with trying to attack him with the felony so he can't become president?
No, technically that wouldn't stop him. What they're really trying to do is to trying to just use, well, he's a felon. He's the first president who's a felon. And you're going to hear that like a billion, cajillion times in the news. Every time they speak about him, like convicted felon Donald Trump, because it's really all a show. It's an optic. And this will not stop him from running. In fact, he can be convicted, sent to prison, still win, pardon himself, and get out. So it's just the way, the reason they're doing this. And what's her face? My big favorite booty Latina, AOC, kind of let it slip when she said they have, like they have him tied down here in New York, where he can't even go out and rally and do anything. They got him on lockdown. That's the whole purpose. So he can't do his rally,
Well,
so he can't be with the people.
I think he could kind of wipe that away. He could expunge his own record and clean it. If you got off.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, all this
He said
stuff goes
expunge.
to the president. Yeah, expunge.
He said expunge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he can. Yeah. If he pardons himself, it's like none of this happened. It's gone. It's expunged. There'll be no need for it to be even expunged. It'll be completely taken off the record.
See, this is the reason why I have a hard time with supporting Donald Trump, because when he got in office, what was the first thing he should have done? Should have investigated those fuckers, and he didn't do it. He kissed their ass. Now he has to expunge and get pardoned. You know what I mean? That's what happens.
Fairness, Yeah, but in all fairness, he had a lot of people surrounding him that were feeding him bad info,
And he
and
shouldn't
he
have
was the
done it.
first time president. And on top of that, he was being impeached. Remember they tried to impeach him before he even like started the presidency. They already had articles of impeachment.
There should have been an
So this
investigation.
guy,
That was his. That was his
no, but
election
he really
promises.
couldn't. They tried. In fact, this guy Weiner was the Speaker of the House for a little bit before Nancy Pelosi took over, and when they tried to investigate, the dossier from Steele, the Hillary Clinton bot, they were shut down. They couldn't investigate anything.
Goes back to
And
the
that was part
DOJ, what I was talking
that
about
was part of the
before.
problem. Exactly. And then the Nancy Pelosi took over, and impeachment number two, number three, number four, number five. It was like every other month. It was like he was taking a piss. We got to impeach him. He was taking a phone call. We got to impeach him. This is the only person who got impeached for telling another leader, "Hey, you know that corruption thing that happened? Why don't you stop corruption in your country?" So a guy who's anti-corruption got impeached for it.
Well, it's like
So
I said. If
what
he
you
gets
do,
in, if he gets in office, I'll support him if he freaking actually starts those investigations up that he promised to do when he first
yeah,
got in.
I know
Well,
he's gonna do it.
he
He
might
can.
want to do it now.
Yeah,
He might want to do
exactly.
it now because the attacks won't stop after he becomes
Oh no,
president.
they're not gonna stop. But I mean, there's only so much even as a president he can do. What he needs to stay with control of the cabinet, the Senate, the Congress, and he needs to have an actual speaker with cojones, who is not Nancy Pelosi, because that won't work.
Yeah.
The Speaker of the House who is on his side and will not do what they did to him the first time, which is railroad him for 4 years, not let him be a full time president. He was dealing with all kinds of shit. On top of that, the last year we had the COVID outbreak, which was paid for by the Obama Biden administration. And we know where that came from, the Wuhan lab in China. China. But you know what? He was railroaded. And they're
Came
going to
from
try to do it
China.
again.
China.
Exactly.
All
But
right,
we
I'm done.
need to not have that speaker. We need to have people that are actually trying to do right for this country.
All right, well, I'm done. Go ahead, Russen.
Yeah.
China.
China. Anyway, um, what should scare the living piss out of anybody with half a brain on the left that's been pushing for all of this? Naroki alluded to it by the $54 million war chest, and I heard somewhere between 24 to 30 million dollars was raised from the average from your average
It was
citizen.
30. It was 34 million the first day, 54 in the first 4 days. It's about close to 75 million now.
Holy fuck. Okay.
This is gonna pay for like the $400 million that they tried to charge him. Watch.
Well, that could very well happen as well too. But I mean, these are most Americans, I'm pretty sure, up before Trump, never gave a flying fuck to make any donation. Yeah, you'll have a small pocket here and there on both sides of the aisle for both colors or for any political party for that matter. But like this is an absolute record of what's been brought up. And don't get me wrong, I know that Don Jr. is doing his best to stoke the fire, fan the flames, but if your average citizenry is donating like this, what they've done is that they have fucking kicked the bear. Not kicked the bear. They have ball flicked the fucking tiger. And that tiger is going to turn around and it's going to do its absolute best to take you down because it's pissed off. And the mutual friend of ours, Naroki and I, that know, who's got a massive case of denial and TDS, keeps going on that, oh, Trump's a narcissist. Like, I don't fucking care that he's a narcissist. What's happened here is that what's happened to him is what they could do to you if they really feel like it. But you're not important enough to be on their radar, so you're safe in that regard. And I think it can really only be said this way, is that I think the silent majority of America has now been ignited. And my feeling will be is that what's happened now will and can only be summed up as, like, this is an avalanche that's going to come down. And if there's an election, again, don't know if there will be, not saying there will, not saying there won't, but if there's an election and there's the atypical election chicanery, oh boy, it's going to be fucking messy. Will it come down to it being a revolution? Will it be... I don't see it going to the point of it being a civil war, because, I mean, realistically, we're in the middle of it right now, the culture war and the lawfare and whatever else. But the citizens haven't acted up yet. But there are a number, I'm sure that there are enough people that would have voted Democrat under normal circumstances that have seen what's going on. Again, the chicanery, the kangaroo court system, whatever else you want to use. Someone who's going to listen, my friend won't. And if and when push comes to shove, my feeling will be is that the communist BLM Antifa left will find out very quickly that they're not going to be wanted, they're not going to be welcome, and they are going to have to stock up on firearms and ammunition because they're going to need it. Will it come to that in the streets? I hope not. I really do. But who knows? Who honestly knows? But as far as I'm concerned, I don't see Trump losing in this election. And I won't be surprised that people like Diddy or celeb Hollywood actors that have spoken up in the past, like De Niro, fucking idiot. And we'll get to him soon enough. That's a topic for tomorrow, isn't it, Naroki?
Talking about a guy who's destroyed his own career in 48 hours. Robert De Niro's toast. He's done.
Well, I'm of the opinion that he's already been taken out because, I mean, with makeup technology, masks and whatever else, you can make anybody look like what you want them to look like. So
I don't know about all that, but I mean, he looked like a scared little man on that podium. And I mean that in every sense of the word because he's actually pretty short.
yeah.
But I mean, he just looked pathetic.
Well,
he did. I'm going to have to point something out here. You can make somebody look like De Niro. You cannot make someone act like De Niro on screen. So yeah, that was a bit of a stretch for me. Continue, Rusin.
Well, regardless of that one way or the other, given De Niro's connection to Weinstein and being on stage with Diddy, there's just too many coincidences. And again, he was a person of extreme interest back in '98 with the prostitution ring bust with kids, and he got dragged into that. So
facts. That's facts. Yep.
Is he worried? Yeah, he better be. But who knows? Who knows? Don't know, don't care, and at least not about that. So he's his own worst enemy, and I'm not worried about him at all. He's someone that I consider to be of no consequence anymore. And that is Robert De Niro's problem is, well, Robert De Niro. Anyway, but again, as I said, the American general public is awake. I don't think that there's been any time that they've been as fired up and are as passionate about all the shit going on. And this could very well be the culmination of the lockdowns, of the economy going into the shitter. Bidenomics. You know, you've got your stagflation happening in the U.S., and it's not to say that's not going to happen everywhere else, because believe me, I'm in Canada. It's happening up here as well, too. So people have basically reached that point that they can't. Genie's out. Like, the genie's out of the bottle at this point, that you cannot put the damn thing back in, even if they wanted to. And at the end of the day, there's a lot more of the awakened citizens than there are the people that are trying to control them. And I feel sorry for those fuckers that have been trying to keep everybody manipulated, because payback is going to be an absolute bitch. So, not just with, and again, that comes down to my perspective of the political donations that are flooding into Trump's office, or into his war chest. And don't be surprised of the possibility of seeing California vote red. So we'll see. I don't know. And that's all I got. So, Naroki, all yours.
Why, yeah, thanks. Yeah, this whole thing, it to be determined. There were three there. I saw this a couple of times, from different people. There's going to be three. They were going to try it three different ways. They were going to A, try to get him in jail, B, assassinate him, or C, orchestrate some sort of an emergency that forces him to have to leave office or prevent the election or whatever. So what is going on here is not at all surprising. Yeah, if this doesn't work, and it's not going to really honestly work, what they will simply do is they will move over to plan B or C, which either to assassinate, or some of the stuff that I've been hearing about. I haven't covered it yet. If you've been following Redacted News, though, Redacted's been following it quite closely. They are potentially organizing, like, more in Western Europe than they are in North America at this point. But in Western Europe, they are effectively. Rumor has it that the armed forces there are already on armed footing to go to war with Russia, which I think is the absolute height of insanity. But that's kind of the way things are going. And yeah, this was. To be continued, and as expected, yeah, we went to almost 50 minutes on this one, which is kind of what I was expecting. But let's get into the last two topics here. Okay, this is the one that Readerson got all sarcastic about at the start of the show, and
Okay, refresh my memory.
it was about the Google search engine being corrupted.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. There's like, yeah, no kidding. Tell me something I don't know. In unrelated news, water is wet and
Let
the
me
sky
save you
is.
some. Also, guys, water is wet.
Yeah, I'm shocked. Yeah, thank. How dare you tell me that? So we've known it, but we didn't. We knew it, but we didn't know it because there wasn't actually any proof until, of course, a Google employee decided to leak a whole like something like 5,000 pages, and the whole search engine optimization algorithm was exposed in what they're emphasizing. And I'm going to just relate a personal experience of mine from the manosphere. If you type in manosphere or men's rights or MGTOW or red pill or PUA into Google, your first page is almost always going to be leftist, feminist publications or woke media commenting about it. And the first definitions you go to, although Urban Dictionary did fix, there was an employee, for instance, at Urban Dictionary for the term MGTOW. They went in and blocked the voting system, and they rearranged the vote. They hid the vote. The reason why they hid the vote was an attempt by Urban Dictionary to hide the fact that the most popular version of MGTOW wasn't the one that they were demonstrating. And apparently they fixed that. But if you do a search on the manosphere at all, you will notice the bias almost immediately. If you go search up wage gap myth on Google, you will get a whole bunch of articles and stories and videos that will try to convince you that the wage gap is real. If you go to DuckDuckGo or Opera or any of the other search engines and do it, you will get a much more balanced story. I could go on and on and on about feminist propaganda in the manosphere in terms of what happens with search engine optimization in that particular area. Now, let's take this out and step into the arena of politics. For instance, while you guys are usually talking and discussing stuff, I'm usually uploading photos for the slideshow, trying to find balanced articles on Trump tonight, or finding stuff about, for instance, and I'm already on what we're going on tomorrow. One of the topics we're covering tomorrow is the under or virtually no reporting of the fact that domestic bases inside the military bases inside the United States have already been, there's an uptick in attempts to target the bases for terrorist attacks. None of them have been successful yet, but they have been doing it and it hasn't been reported. Trying to find photos of that on Google was like trying to draw blood from a stone. I had to give up and I just had to go with like photos of domestic military bases. You go into any issue about Trump, you go into any issue about say the trans agenda, you go into any of the socially controversial issues. If you do a search on Google, you will always get the pro-trans agenda at the top of the list. Always. And of course, we knew that was the case. And for instance, one of the more famous cases that happened was the fact that Rumble got the rights to broadcast online the first debate of the Republican candidates. Trump wasn't there, but Rumble got the rights to broadcast that. You had to dig in like 3 or 4 pages into the Google search to find the link on Rumble to watch that show. If you didn't know where to look, you would not have been able to find it. So this has been happening rather frequently. And what's been going on is that we all knew what was going on, but we just could not prove what was going on. Except now that we've got the leak and we can see it. And of course, Google, and this should come as no surprise, has been keeping the data on how it operates its search engine optimization a very tightly guarded secret for very obvious reasons, and now we know why. And again, this comes as no surprise to any of us that Google has been doing this, right? There has been indirect evidence for years now that Google's been doing this. I no longer use Google at all as my primary search engine at all. I will go use DuckDuckGo or Opera or something else, or Brave, sorry. But I don't use the Google search engine very much anymore at all. And the whole thing, we knew, but we didn't know because we didn't have the smoking gun. Well, somebody at Google just leaked the smoking gun. So, yeah, surprise, not surprised. Yes, indeed, Google has been doing it, and they have actually not only have they been doing it, but now, thanks to this leak, they have been caught lying about it. And again, this is a form of gaslighting, right? You don't have proof that Google was doing it. Therefore, when Google says that they weren't doing it, you didn't have the evidence to back it up. You had indirect evidence. You saw what was happening when you did search engine searches on Google, but you didn't have the smoking gun. Well, now you got the smoking gun. Surprise, surprise, not surprised. Google has been slanting their search. This comes as no surprise to any of us, but it might be to people who are not tech savvy. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Angel.
This kind of like reminds me of a job I did a few years ago for a company called My Search Enterprise. Uh, we worked with search engine optimization. We worked directly with Google, both on organic optimization and the paid advertisement, and how that works. And it's always been a rigged system. Now, Google, when they started off and they started, becoming big, what they, started doing was innocent enough at first, where they were trying to, like, gain not only users for their, web browsing, but, they were trying to find a way to make money off of, which, that's a capitalist way, and that's cool. The problem is several years later, they were approached by the government, and this is records on this. They were forced to not only work within the government, I'm talking about like CIA, the FBI, but they were ordered to turn over documents on certain people, and they had to, like, in a sense, become another branch of government from that point on in order to exist. Remember when Google hit the scene, the big search engine was like Yahoo and some of these other companies. But then Google hit the scene out of nowhere and they blew up. And now, Yahoo is, a very small search engine. Google's taken over everything. But the reason they're able to do that is because they played ball with the government. And this is part of the globalization of the narrative where they control everything. You got to understand, there's no three branches of government. Besides the standard three, the entertainment business is another standard branch of government. And technology, like Google, media, social media, and even TV media is a part of the branch of governments. They control all that. They control the narrative. And those who control the narrative control the population. This is why it's called television. Is tell lies to your vision. And this has been going on for a long time. This is why a lot of people are cutting the cord and they're leaving TV and they're starting just to stream on the internet. But it doesn't matter if it's Google tracking your stuff down or anybody else. The problem is if it's not Google, it's going to be somebody else. The system really knows how to like replace a system if it breaks. So we will probably say, "Oh yeah, DuckDuckGo replaces Google," but guess what? DuckDuckGo is compromised also. They all are. They're only allowed to play the game if they allow themselves to be compromised. It's the same thing with young folks in Hollywood and in the music industry. You don't get to become Justin Bieber unless you suck a couple of dicks. Okay, unless you give your ass to these producers. That's how you get to the level of Justin Bieber or Usher. Okay, you have to sell your soul and your body to these people. In an indirect way, Google is a corporation, so that it's like nobody got ass fucked. But as a company, they sold themselves to the government, and the government has been pimping them like the systems that pimp out young artists. It's the same thing, just different methods on a different animal. They control Google. Google's no longer a small little upstarted company. It's part of the plan. And if that happens to crumble, there'll be another replacement, whether it's DuckDuckGo or whatever. Maybe they'll bring back Yahoo. Who the hell knows? But there's always going to be something that it's going to say, well, we finally, we got rid of this entity. But guess what? The next entity, it's the same thing. And with that, I will pass it along to Roger. Roger.
Okay. Well, when it comes to like Google and search engine optimization, the first thing I want to say is like people need to understand how to properly use a search engine optimization. And I think the best way to do that is like explain it through the process of finding free porn on the internet, because that's one of the hardest things for people to figure out. When they finally do figure it out, it just makes it a lot easier to understand SEO and search engines. Okay. Now, whenever you go to find porn on the frickin' internet, you don't go to Google, you go to Bing. Everybody knows that the best porn is on Bing. Right. So you go to Bing and you type in actress that you want, or just any messed up pornographic words. It'll give you that search engine and it'll give you all the results. Now the important part about that is don't click on it and go to the website. Just watch it straight off of the SEO. Okay.
It's funny. Like everybody who gets online always learns about porn first.
Right, exactly. And that's the reason why I'm using it as an example, because like the first thing most of these people do with search engines is they click on the website, and then all of a sudden they get viruses on their computer and all this other crazy shit, and they don't understand why they did it. Well, it's because you clicked on the link. Just use the search engine to find the information. Freaking read it right off the search engine if you can. And when you go in and you use the search engines, make sure that the freaking source that it's coming from is reliable, because anybody can freaking put anything on SEO, and a lot of this stuff isn't freaking reliable. So that's the one thing that I got to say about that. And when it comes to the AI, I did notice, because I like to play around with it and like combine stories and stuff and make believe stories, and AI tells some pretty cool stuff. I did one with the Midnight Cowboy and Star Wars, and it was pretty cool. But
you can call that Midnight Wars. Yeah.
But what I did find out was it was weird, because like if you take and you say certain names and you try to make a story out of it, they won't do it just because you're asking names. Like here, just a little while ago, I did Stormy Daniels with freaking somebody else. I just tried to do where they'd combine the story between the two of them, and it wouldn't do it. And the only reason why I can think of is because I used the word Stormy Daniels. You know, that's the part where I think it's pretty messed up. And I know a guy on Minds, he goes by Minds Gaming, and if you guys want freaking get through all that crazy stuff, he plays around with AI to where freaking it's not censored like that. So you can go to him and talk to him, and he can show you how to use freaking AI that's unfettered. It's not biased, or it's not as biased. And you mentioned it twice, and I wanted to say that I agree with you, Angel, on freaking organic reach. You've mentioned organic reach in your comments a couple times, and
Yep.
that's the one thing that freaking I think a lot of people don't understand. Like the internet is a scam from no matter how you look at it. It's about freaking you paying more money than what you're actually getting out of it, you know, and like organic reach is what I look for. And even though I'm not on Facebook, I got to give them credit. They're the ones who first brought up organic reach. So,
You know,
that,
when I worked with our company, Roger, a lot of our clients used to like pay a lot of money for like the paid advertising, the yellow portion back then on Google, and that part had all the paid ads. And we got so good at like getting top placement for these companies with organic reaching just by doing SEO work. That we started saving them like thousands of dollars. They were like just paying to be, in the yellow part, and they started seeing more action from the organic search results than they were before paying all this crazy money to Google.
right. And that's the thing I agree with you 100% on. And you said plenty on that, so I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna let. I know Naroki's going nuts now because freaking he's probably we're just holding him up, and he's getting ready to fall asleep up there. So I'm
Nah,
gonna
he's,
pass.
he's juiced up because of this Oilers thing. He's juiced up, man. He's gonna be awake till like 8 in the morning or something.
I can't believe like they actually
Let's
do.
go, Oilers.
I can't believe they
See?
do all that
See?
rebellious stuff up there. Like I never pictured Naroki going out and doing freaking like a mob scene and still on televisions and stuff.
Bro, this is like crack cocaine for these people up there. Are you kidding me?
All right, I'm done.
All right, V, you're up.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm not quite sure if this is news, but yeah, the Google's optimization. Oh yeah, it's biased as hell. I first actually noticed it was biased years ago when my search results stopped turning up torrents. So I'll say, hey, I want such and such movie, and put torrent behind it. It used to bring up all the torrents for it. Now it just brings up a IMDb page, Wikipedia, and then random garbage. Google no longer takes you to torrent sites. So,
Well, I understand that because I mean, technically, as an artist, it is illegal to pirate, and that's what people in torrents do. So I mean, I understand, that algorithm. I'm not worried about that. I find my ways to get movies and music, so that doesn't bother me as much. It's other things they do that really bug me. Besides,
I understand that. I'm just saying, the first time I noticed that my searches were just not going where it normally does. And yeah, so I started using Avast. I started using DuckDuckGo, and then Brave. Now I have a a browser called Anonymous Browser. It's just a hard-coded browser. You can't do anything to it. It doesn't save any information. No plugins, no extensions, no nothing. It's fresh over and over and over and over again. But yeah,
What's it called?
huh?
What's it called?
It's called Anonymous Browser.
Oh, no. Oh, wow. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you used that Opera browser?
Opera, yeah, yeah. I've got
Yeah,
Opera GX.
Opera.
The Opera GX is the way to go for
Yeah,
sure.
that's pretty cool shit. Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, I'm done, and I gotta go because phone's dying. So I'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Thank you very much. Okay, Rusin, I believe you're up, and we got one more topic left. So,
I mean, let's be real here, folks. Given Google's um, corporate meeting when Trump won the first time, and so many people were boo-hoo-hooing and were so upset, and it's like, well, we're gonna do better next time. We're gonna make sure we do what we can that he wins the second time. The apparent elation of a majority of the employees were happy as pigs and shit. So you can't tell me that Google's not doing its absolute best to be that it's not going. You cannot tell me that Google will not make its search engine unbiased. I'm sorry. I mean, this is the company culture. Um, and given enough of the Freemasonry symbols that Google does use, um, I don't use them unless I don't use Google unless I have to. I'm not fond of an Android phone, but I don't trust Apple either. So I'll have to. Actually, I'm going to take a look and see if I can find an alternative operating system for my phone, so I can get off the Google tit. And that's really the only way to say it.
Is there a third option? I think you're pretty much limited to those two at this point.
It there are enough of them out there, but you have to know what you're doing or to feel confident that you can do it. Graphene OS is one of the bigger alternatives that is out there. Now, if I was to put that on my phone, which is becoming progressively more and more tempting, I will have to obviously I'll have to back everything up, but my Gmail account will not be accessible on the phone unless I put it on there, and then Google does have access into my phone for that reason specifically, which is not a bad idea all in all. Because I would like to actually remove the monitoring and the tracking part of SMART, SMART, as allegedly that's what two of those letters mean. I can't say with any confirmation, but so anything that has Google's fingerprint, you'll have to excuse me for being skeptical and worried to some degree or another about the information that I'm giving them. But I'm kind of past the point where I don't really care as much anymore. But as I said, at some point, I am going to be looking at replacing my Android OS. Oh yeah, and what was Google's logo or model for a while, or their slang, whatever, was "Don't be evil, don't do evil," something like that. These fuckers are one of the worst. They absolutely are. So
There we go. I have a little saying for them also, which was a little bit more positive. When in doubt, don't Google it out.
well, you're
Don't.
not wrong by saying that either, too, Angel. I mean, you're not. But being able to explain this to normies, it, and as I said, it doesn't. To me, Apple is no different. In fact, I consider Apple to be worse, just because of their bigger market share, and Google has
Yeah.
made an agreement with Apple that on their iPhone,
They're going to merge eventually, right? Apple and Google. They're probably going to be selling one to the other or merging.
I can't see it happening. That's just going to be too damn big.
Think about that, though.
No. I fully get what you're saying, and I get
Yeah.
the implications of what that would do. However,
Can
that's
you
too big.
imagine that?
That is too big of a corporate entity, and no, I mean that is. I mean, up here in Canada, it was bad enough when there was a big fight for Rogers to not buy Shaw, which is one cable company to another, and the company I used to work for, TELUS, kicked up the biggest storm to try to not make it happen. It went through eventually. So there is effectively one cable company like that uses coax and their own fiber optic network. There's one cable company, and you've got two major telephone companies that operate on one side of the internal Canadian provincial borders. And the other, no, actually, no, there's three. There's the smaller one, SaskTel, which is in Saskatchewan, but by and large, it's typically three telephone, two, no, yeah, well, 2.5 telephone companies for their cellular service. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not. Anything that Google does now at this point that is going to expose even more bias is not going to shock me. I wasn't aware of this as a topic until Naroki put it up on the list, and I just went, "Oh yeah, well yeah, surprise, surprise." Shocked but not shocked. Again, as my sarcastic comments at the beginning of this podcast. So yeah, I don't have anything more to say. So I'm done, Naroki. All yours. At some
I
point.
think we
Sorry,
lost
my
you.
my microphone wouldn't unmute there for a moment. Okay, yeah.
I thought we lost you to the
We
Oilers.
no, you hadn't lost me. I will be going out for a walk on the street here as soon as the show's over. But yeah, again, we knew what was going on. I tell people, like for instance, it's a very common moniker that I've heard. If you want information on something, just Google it. And it's like when I hear people say that, it says, well, no, don't use Google. Google's severely compromised, especially if you don't have the right political or cultural opinions, right? Like go somewhere else. I typically use DuckDuckGo or Brave. Those are my go-tos. Ugh. Again, though, it varies. So yeah, as expected, I kind of figured the whole Donald Trump thing was going to cause us to run a little bit overtime tonight, and that's exactly what we're doing. So I'm going to move on to the last topic of the night. Now, this one is rather interesting. I don't follow Nick Rekieta. I do know that at one point leftists tried to get him canceled. That canceling happened because Nick Rekieta, and I totally respected him for doing this, was one of the few people that did continuous and constant live streams of the Johnny Depp trial, of the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, of the trial of those three guys in Atlanta. Like, I mean, he was pretty consistent with live streaming that stuff and giving legal opinion on it. And I mean, he had a fairly loyal following. What ended up happening, and this is something that happens to a lot of people who get, well, it happens a lot more frequently in Hollywood, but does happen to individuals online as well. They get famous, it gets to their heads, and it changes them, or they develop, or the issues that were maybe in the background because maybe they didn't have the money to indulge in those aspects of their life beforehand. Now that they do, and now that they've got the money to run with them, they do run with them, and they end up tanking and going rock bottom, which is exactly what happened with Nick Rekieta. Nick Rekieta was a very solid law streamer. Like, he was up there with Robert Barnes and Viva Fry and some of those guys. And he did really good work. And what had been noticed over the past, say, 3 to 6 months is that Nick Rekieta's behavior on his live streams became more erratic, and he looked more strung out, and he looked like he was losing a lot of weight. And I didn't see the episode where apparently he just absolutely like had a meltdown on his own live stream. Apparently, I'm only going with what I was told, but it reached the point where somebody, because Nick Rekieta's got 5 kids, somebody decided to call the police on Nick, and the police went to his house to do a wellness check. While they were at his house, they didn't just find a little bit of drugs, they found a lot of drugs. Like, the types of, like, the amounts that he was either buying the drugs he was buying them in large amounts, or he was trafficking them, probably. But I mean, if he was buying them almost literally by the brick, almost. And if you're at the point where you're using that much, and I know this from both personal experience and having seen it actually at this point, given how long I've been clean and sober, a few thousand times. Once you start going down that path, and once it stops just being something that you use, like, for instance, there are lots of people who are able to smoke weed. They're able to even take the most massive fucking pardon the language, the most massive doobie that they own. They can smoke the whole thing, they can put it down, and they'll be absolutely baked, but they're able to stop. That's something that I was never able to do. I cannot go into a bar. Yep. I cannot go into a bar and have just one drink. Every time I started drinking, I drank until I was out of money, passed out, or, too mentally incompetent to continue drinking or using. There wasn't a off switch for me. Now, if you use with the softer drugs like marijuana, that well, actually, a psychological addiction can be even harder to break than actual physical addiction. But I mean, once you break the psychological addiction, it's broken. Like, you don't have to worry about it coming back. You just have to pay attention to your mentality. But if you're at the point where you were using as much as Nick Rekieta has, the drug becomes your life. Everything else becomes secondary. Now, If your wife is using with you and you're making a fair amount of money, you could probably hide the problem for a while. What ended up happening is that when the police officers did a wellness check, even though Nick Rekieta is making a substantial amount of money from his YouTube channel, the kids were underfed, malnourished. They had been not apparently they had not been attending. I don't know this for sure, but they apparently had not been attending school, which was one of the reasons why they got called. There was so much narcotic in the house. Somebody needs to mute their microphone. Okay, there was so much narcotic in the house that the police could have technically charged Rekieta for trafficking if they had wanted to. The problem is, again, if it had just been himself, it probably would have been just him and his wife and the friend that was there would have been just charged with possession. And that would have been it. The issue comes into it when there are kids involved. When there are kids involved, automatically, and this is North America wide, automatically, when you do a wellness check and they find hard drugs in the house, not alcohol, not marijuana, depending upon which state you're in. Some states, if they find marijuana, they'll do it too. But if they find hard drugs, cocaine, methamphetamine, anything like that, they are immediately arrested, and the kids, depending upon how many there, well, actually, not depending on how many, the kids are immediately put into child protective services. Period. End of story. I had a job. I worked in the building where child protective services was for the city of Edmonton at one point. It was a matter of routine for the people who were going out on calls to have to wear stab-proof and bulletproof vests. Addicts in the throes of addiction will go to heroic lengths to keep that addiction going. Most of them will ride that train until the wheels literally and absolutely and figuratively come off, which is, by the way, why I don't have any heavy drug users, or even a lot of casual drug users in my circle of friends. These people are a risk. They're a security risk. The mob, for instance, didn't allow drug dealing, and it wasn't because they were altruistic. They didn't allow drug dealing because people who dealt in drugs were exceedingly erratic and unreliable and would flip on you and turn you into the police. So it was a security issue with the mob. So Nick Rekieta was becoming a hazard to himself, his wife, who was using with him, and they were getting to the point where their addiction was causing their kids to be neglected and to be undernourished and malnourished, even though they were making a substantial amount of money from both Nick Rekieta's legal practice and from his YouTube channel. So he got arrested. He got charged. It is not looking good for him when you are arrested on a drug charge and children are involved. He may not necessarily get jail time, but he's definitely not going to be getting his kids back into his life anytime soon. Nor, by the way, is he going to be a trusted legal opinion. I mean, he's going to have to literally rebuild his YouTube following from scratch. Now, if he goes into treatment and he makes an earnest attempt to get clean, he might actually come out ahead on this, but he has to actually want it. and I've been in recovery for almost 4 decades now. Um, the number of people I've met who genuinely want to get and stay clean is exceedingly low. Most of them, once they start, they will not stop until they have completely destroyed their lives, which is why they took the kids away. And hopefully Nick will get the treatment that he requires. Hopefully he will be smart enough to stick with it, because it's not just a question of stopping for a week or a month or a year, right? If you're doing hard drugs, it's like you have to stop like forever, right? And yeah, I hope he gets the treatment that he needs. I hope this is a major wake up call for him, because that term that I hear at meetings all the time, jails, institutions, and death, that's not if you've been to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, you'll hear that statement, and it's not a bullshit statement, right? Like literally every single addict that I know that has decided to remain addicted and stay addicted ends up in one of those three states at some point. Some people it takes longer, some people it happens really quickly. So, with that, I'm just going to say, yeah, as you can clearly see, I got a little bit of knowledge in this particular area. I hope Nick Rekieta the best. But yeah, he reached the point where he was neglecting his kids to keep the dragon fed. That is not a good sign. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Angel.
I don't really have a whole lot of to add to this, and I'm not a big follower of Nick. And also, I've never been addicted to any heavy drugs. We all experiment a little bit here and there when we were young. I did LSD 26 years ago, was the last time, 25 years ago. But I never got into like heroin or, any of these harder drugs. I do smoke weed. I don't drink alcohol. I don't party all the time like I used to, because I grew up. The problem is a lot of people don't grow up and they get worse and worse with their addiction. And then they have children, and the children see that. So that's the sad part, is the reality of the kids that are involved. And people that say, well, why do they take the kids away? Well, I'd rather the kids not grow up and see this as their role model, because all you're doing is you're making, another generation of kids that are going to follow in these footsteps. Some people shouldn't be parents. It looks like Nick here is one of them. But it is what it is. He got caught with I don't know how much the drugs charges were, or how many different things he got caught with. But I'll say this much: if it was enough to get him put in prison and take his kids been taken away, it must have been a pretty bad charge. I think it's sad that anybody puts their family through this, and this is what addiction is. Instead of these people going to prison, though, when it's I mean, when it's something like this, I think rehabbing it is the best way to go. But again, this is now going beyond it. He's just doing a lot of drugs. It's neglecting the children. It's possibly hurting the children physically. That's where it gets really, out of whack, and people need to step in. So this is one reason why there are, certain programs that do defend children there. They do a lot of great work from people that might harm them indirectly. And look, heavy drug use, dependency on drugs, it's a mental illness, and people with that illness need to be helped, not thrown in prison for 30 years. So, with that, I shall yield to Roger.
Sorry, it took me a second to hit that mute button. The weird part about this case is I checked it out. I posted something in the thing for it too. First of all, it tripped me out because, thinking, yeah, in almost less than 2 weeks, I'll have 20 years sober. So I've been away from it for quite a long time, and what tripped me out was when they said he could be facing 25 years in prison, dude. Back when I was doing dope, especially like in California, you can freaking get caught with dope in your hand. They give you a freaking ticket and send you on your way. But like, I understand there was a massive amount of drugs, so that's a serious charge. But like 25 years in prison is pretty freaking stout. And I found out
I wonder how much of that is because of the kids, though, Roger.
Well, I mean, from the charges, I even went through and checked it out because there was actually 3 charges that he was facing on. It was child endangerment, second-degree drug possession, and then gross misdemeanor firearm charges. So apparently, not only did he have massive amount of drugs and he put his kids in danger, but freaking a gun came up in the subject. You know what I mean? Apparently, there was a gun introduced in. And that right there is pretty serious too, you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of that whole situation was a lot of crazy shit. But the second degree drug possession thing, like I just that's the first thing that stuck out to me is like that's a lot of years, and that's in Minnesota. And they were talking about in this article that that they have strict sentencing right there for New Jersey as well. New Jersey has a pretty strict sentencing for that. And I know like they go according to the amount of drugs that you have that determines the freaking amount of years you get. So that was something that really stuck out to me. When it comes to the whole sobriety and staying sober, it's easy to get sober, but staying sober is a completely different story. I like the saying jails, institutions, and death. I do, but I also like to say freaking alleyways and homeless shelters as well. Because a lot of people don't realize, man, this stuff will take you down in directions you never thought you would go. You know what I mean? I never woke up and said to myself when I was 10 years old, man, you know what? I want to be a drug addict today. That never crossed my mind. It just happened, and it took me to places that I never wanted to go. It took me to places where I did want to go, but it also took me to places where I didn't want to be. And that's what comes out of all this, I think the thing that really helped me out too is I like the old saying that you break out in spots, and that's a big Cocaine Anonymous saying. They say you break out in spots, jails, institutes, insane asylums, homeless shelters, alleyways, stuff like that. You'll do things that you would never expect yourself to do. So it really is the freaking a hard thing to say. Like I couldn't judge these people because that's me. These people, I could easily be that person if I picked up another bottle or freaking did another drug. Yeah, I would go right back to what these people have been doing. I freaking had a pretty freaking crazy drug life myself, I ended up homeless on the streets doing shit freaking I never thought I'd do, panhandling for freaking dope and everything. I mean, it's not a happy life, but hey, you'll do what you got to do to get that fix. And I try to turn all freaking my negative things into something positive. Even my drug use, I can use that to help somebody else, because that's what's the most important thing, one person reaching out to another. So if you ever get a chance to freaking talk to people about your experiences, freaking do it. That's the best type of medicine you can give a person who's suffering from drug addiction. And that I'll shut up. He fell asleep again, didn't he?
No,
Rearson, yeah.
I think he did. Yeah.
a little faster to unmute myself here. I'm I have a I do have an addictive personality. I've listened when I was younger to not smoke, and I'm so thankful that I haven't. Mind you, having a grandfather pass away from being a heavy chain smoker from way back in the day of to that sort of thing where it was unfiltered and the like. Um, my mom made sure that we did not see my grandfather in hospital. Apparently, he was just that thin and just not healthy. So that hit very, very close to home for me there. The worst that I've done consistently is drink. Now, leading up to the Mainline weekend up here in Canada, there was a 2-week period before I was going to go camping with a friend. I, excuse me, I made a point not to drink, and it was tough. There were a couple of days, there were about 3 or 4 days. There's a liquor store across in the street where I live. It's like, can't do it. I cannot do it. I've got to wait. You know what? Like, I wanted to save myself up for the week, and I did. Excuse me. And I had 2 rough mornings the next day where it was like, oh, I'm camping. It's fine. I'll pay the price. And as I said, it did it 2 times. And there's something that I'm doing right now in my personal life.
Whoa, buddy.
Starting up a business, and with one of the products that I'm using, I honestly have no drive at all to drink. There have been plenty of times that I could just easily go across the street, pick up a 6-pack, and beer is my favorite. But honest to God, I have no desire for it, and I'm happy that I have no drive to drink. Not to drink and drive, but there's no compulsion for me to buy anything. I don't feel any sort of withdrawal symptoms, nothing of the sort. So, and aside from that, the only other thing that I've done is mushrooms. Nothing happened because I ended up passing out before it took effect. And there was cannabis, but that never resonated with me. So that's my personal story of poisoning myself, shall we say. What I did look into this guy is that back in 2022, he has had a drug problem. And speculation was that he had to have a public persona to go to church for his family, his mom, or his parents, at least mother anyway, to give him, shall we say, some sort of an allowance, or for him to a certain lifestyle that she was supplementing. But he's gone off the rails, apparently, disparaging the people in his church, disparaging. The guy became a loose cannon. That's what the only way to say it, and what Naroki was talking about before. And I cannot imagine the lifestyle that he's in. I just can't. I've been told with one of the people that I used to work with who has done coke, he said, Steve, you love this stuff.
Oh, the one time I used Coke, I absolutely loved it. It was just a small little bit. I only used it once. It was the same day I hit rock bottom. But trust me, if I had not hit rock bottom that same day, I would have kept using. Absolutely would have kept using. I fucking loved that hit, that immediate. Wow. Yeah. Continue.
Yeah. So I'm not anybody that is in a position to criticize the man one way or the other. I mean, obviously, yeah, drugs are bad, narcotics are not a good thing, opioids and whatever else, yes. But what led him to that, I have no idea. Does he have, or well, before this, like, curious to know when did this start? How did this start? And did he have the indications that this would be something that he could not kick as a habit? I don't know. I really honestly don't know. And much like as Naroki has said, I do genuinely wish the guy well and hope that he does end up kicking it and he comes out like with Michael Keaton's movie way back when. You know, I do hope he does become clean and sober, but I don't know. And yeah, I
Michael Keaton's the man. The
Oh,
Bat.
That clean and sober movie is probably one of the top 3 movies that
For you.
defy addiction and recovery that I've ever seen.
For you,
That's just me.
Requiem for a Dream.
Well, I was going to say Michael Keaton's coming back, or he'll be there for Beetlejuice the 2024. So I'm actually, I think I might.
Yeah.
See it. Anyway,
You know they were talking about a part 3, right?
we'll see how it goes with the second movie.
I don't like
yeah.
sequels when it's that old, like we were talking about before. They always screw them up.
Top Gun Maverick was pretty good, but it's the exception rather than the rule.
Well,
Right.
I think Beetlejuice is going to be good just because Michael Keaton under all that makeup looks the same. It's like and Winona Ryder is still hot, you know. So
Okay, yeah. By the way, Rusin, are you done, or do you have anything more to add?
Well, I'm just going to say that's assuming that Keaton and or Winona Ryder don't kill themselves off, or Catherine O'Hara for that, or that they don't pass away. Anyway, yeah, no, I don't have
well,
anything in this one. So yeah, I hope that he kicks it. I hope that he turns his life around. But if the wife doesn't change, and if he wants to have his kids back and turn his life around, he's got to get rid of the baggage. But we'll see. And on that note, I am done.
Yeah, this is just an observation because it didn't happen to me. A lot of the wives and husbands of people who are using are very much enablers. That's why there is Codependence Anonymous. That's why there is Al-Anon. Because yeah, that's how addiction works, be it alcohol or narcotics of some type. But anyway, yeah, we went on over 3.5 hours. I was kind of expecting that we would go on that long tonight because of the Trump story. I knew we were going to go a little bit long. Yes, Angel, let's go Oilers. Edmonton in Florida.
not my fault.
Yeah. Edmonton in Florida. Yeah, I was here. I was here when the Oilers made the finals the last time around. Hopefully they win it this time. It'd be nice to see a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup. But that is it for tonight, folks. Thank you very much. We will be doing it again tomorrow. If you want to jump in tomorrow, the topics are posted up in the chat. In fact, I sent copies of the topics for tomorrow. They should be on everyone's feed. If they're not, let me know. But that is it. Thank you very much for showing up tonight. And yeah, Marissa, no need, not really feeling the need to talk to anyone right now after this. After this, so we will just call it a night, and I will see some of you tomorrow.
You have a good one. Thanks for having us on, man.
Yeah, no problem.